But if you're making a pre-show for the Super Bowl, like here's a preview of what's to come, Maroon 5, and then you cut in a clip of SpongeBob.
Well, they showed SpongeBob.
What? Yes, you're right.
And I think that's why people are mad about it. It's not necessarily that. It's not the assumption. It's more like
They
what
were mad that they got duped.
Basically, yeah. I think
what a petty thing to be mad for.
Yeah.
Sure, fraud. We'll call it fraud.
It's not fraud. It's false advertisement.
It'd be false advertisement if you paid for it, but you don't.
It's like the equivalent of like me getting here and putting like a cardboard cutout of that looks like a cake on the table and taking a picture, and it looks like a cake sitting on the table waiting for you. You guys walk in, and it's just a cardboard cutout. That's sort of that.
We can't sue you for it.
No.
Just
like,
kind of
Trey
sucks.
got us cake, yay! This is Twin Stick Radio, episode 55 for the week of February 4th, 2019. I'm one of your hosts, Trey Higgins. I'm joined by Chris Rodriguez.
Hello.
And Justin T. Lopez.
Hello.
Hello.
What's up?
Not much
Welcome back.
Oh, thanks. I was gone. Here's the shitty thing. So my sister's birthday is on the 31st of January. My dad's birthday is on the 5th. And we had just spent this whole weekend doing all this stuff for my sister because she got her nursing degree or something from some school she goes to. This is like the third graduation we've been to for her. Very proud of her, but it's like, okay, like, come on.
Now you're just showing off.
Yeah. So my stepmom was like, hey, her birthday's on Wednesday, or no, it's on Thursday. We're going to do a dinner on Tuesday, and everyone's going to meet up and all that. My dad's birthday is on the 5th, and so they're doing a dinner tonight for his party, and I was like, I went last week, and I was like, and had I known that you guys were going to do this, I would not have gone to my sister's thing, because I already spent a lot of time celebrating her during the weekend, and now, like, that's crappy. Which is a long way of me saying that, like, I'm happy to be here, but I wish that I was here last week and
not
was at
this
my
week.
Dad's party tonight.
That makes sense.
I'm adulting.
Hey, Justin, can you close that door? Drew has music like insanely loud.
Yeah.
I mean, I can hear it.
Chris, how are you doing while he shuts the door?
I'm fine.
Well, do you have any fun anecdotes, things that you're wondering about, insight to share with our young millennial audience?
Stop whining so much. It's not worth it.
I think, like, the last time I did the notes, we had a story about internet whining. Mm-hmm. And we were literally just talking about the Super Bowl internet whining. And then there's another thing on here that I think is kind of internet whiny.
Sure.
A lot of internet whining.
I was going to say this I feel like that's pretty much every week. There's
at
some
least
story
something.
of...
There's at least something where the entitlement has overflown in the glass.
I kind of just wish that all the comment sections on all the internet would be shut off. Because I'm kind of just tired of hearing about
funnel it all to Reddit.
Yeah. Reddit should be the source of internet whining.
I agree.
I'm just
kind of already is, but
well, no, but I agree. I would like to go read an article and accidentally scroll past the end and read a comment and be positive.
Yeah.
Or just not see the comments
right, not at all.
You know what?
Just not see them at all.
In defense of Reddit, though, that what I find on Reddit is a lot of times that there is a whiny post.
Sure.
Most of the time when I'm looking for information or like valid opinions about something that is just like on a news subreddit, I'll go and read that.
Yeah, I agree.
But it's usually like I know the trap that I'm walking into. It's very rare that I'm surprised by the comment section on Reddit anymore.
See, but then I have almost like a morbid curiosity about that stuff because I'll go to a comment section and be like, oh, this is all really good. I'm going to go ahead and sort by controversial. Here's the good whining stuff.
Yeah, I hate the whining stuff.
And it makes me irrationally upset, but it's like I brought myself here.
Yeah, and the worst thing is like, I mean, I guess we all have some time to read articles, but it's easier to listen to people talk about things, news. So it's easy to go to YouTube and find somebody that you enjoy or find somebody that you trust or something like that.
A podcast, perhaps.
Yeah, a podcast or something like that. But even then, their comment section is just filled with, lately it's nothing but EA hate. And like, it's insane. And like, I feel this is the first time I'm actually worried about a game because I really, really like Anthem. And I think it's doomed to fail just because of public perception of EA, not the game.
It's kind of crazy though, because, I've been staying intentionally dark on it. It's not very likely that I'm going to be a day one purchaser of the game just because I don't think it's going to... I think it's going to need a little bit of time. But I'm going to jump in at some point. But the funny thing about the outside looking in perspective, where I'm not following the community super closely or following the YouTubers, is that I'm on my end of things. I'm mostly only seeing positive feedback, unless it's talking about the potential for the microtransactions. Which all of that is speculative, so it's not valuable criticism. But I don't think I've really seen
honestly,
any hardcore criticism about the game.
Honestly, none of the criticism coming out about Anthem is valuable because nobody's criticizing the game.
Mm-hmm.
They're all criticizing EA.
Yeah,
which I guess you have every right to because it's EA, but that's not the game. It's not BioWare and it's not Anthem.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Like even being on like Facebook, seeing an ad, like a paid sponsorship ad for Anthem, looking at the comment section. People who haven't even played the game are just like, oh, gonna pass on this EA trash, and it's like, what, like what are you adding? And not only that, it's like, I understand sometimes Reddit, it's like you have that anonymous kind of like, this is your internet persona, but it's Facebook. Like I can go and look at your shitty face and see how shitty of a person you are.
Yeah, people are getting a lot braver on the internet.
They have no shame
Yep.
because they think their opinion's valid just because they can post it somewhere.
Right.
Because
It's
it pops up in
fucking
a little text
ridiculous.
bubble. My opinion's valid.
And then
It's as
someone
valid as everybody else's.
throws it a like, and then it's like, I have value.
Yeah, exactly. One other person believes in me, so I am right.
It's actually that person's alt account.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
it's actually them.
It's fucking annoying. The internet's real. Like the last year or so, the internet's just been super
It's
fucking
just-
annoying. It's shitty.
It's getting to the point where it's insufferable.
Yeah.
Like one of the rabbit holes I've been falling down recently is there's this guy on YouTube. I think he's called AltX, and he does lore videos for a bunch of HBO shows. And the main thing that he's kind of famous for is his videos on Game of Thrones. And so I'm almost done with the show, and I've been having these just kind of on in the background when I'm going to sleep, or when I'm driving, I'll put my phone down and have it connected to my speakers so that I can hear what he's saying. But you just go in the comment section of it, and it's Game of Thrones, which I think is pretty universally liked.
Sure.
I think for the most part, people like it, and it's just
Except
people.
for older people.
Yeah,
The older generation doesn't like it because it didn't follow the books to a T.
but they don't have the internet because the nursing home doesn't have Wi-Fi. So it's
No,
fine.
I don't mean that
I
much
know.
older. I mean like me older.
Yeah, I don't know, because like it's funny you say that, because like my parents and my grandparents and all of their friends who are in their 40s to 70s, they all fucking love that show.
But did they read the books?
Well, I don't think anyone's really read the books.
Well,
You and I might be the only two people that watch a show that
I read
have read
the books
the
in
books.
high school and college.
Yeah.
I read them a long ass time ago.
Oh,
When they were
I
new.
think I watched up until season 2 and then read them all before season 3 came out.
No,
so.
They weren't all new.
Right.
Like the last.
Actually, they might have been new.
Yeah, you're right. They might have been.
Like the last
Yeah.
4.
That might be true because I was reading through the Wheel of Time series when I started reading Game of Thrones, and I stopped reading Wheel of Time to read Game of Thrones.
They were fresh off the printing press.
But anyway, you'll read the comment sections. There's just people tearing him apart for his theories. And it's like, why?
Yeah, they're just theories.
They're just theories.
Yeah.
Is most of this shit going to happen? Probably not. But it's kind of cool to hear him say this crazy thing and then back it up with all this lore that's out there that I didn't
Sure.
even know was out there.
We should all treat like theories and things on the internet like scientists treat each other. Because I'm sure there's scientists out there that are like, here's my theory, and there's another scientist is like, that's kind of ridiculous. However, I have respect for you because you're a scientist. You know what I mean? I may think it's ridiculous,
Yeah.
but there's mutual respect there. Why can't that
Or just look at it for an entertainment value. Like I watch Film Theory, where he goes on ridiculous. No, it's not stuck up at all.
Okay.
No,
it was nerdy. It
Right.
was me pushing up glasses.
Yeah,
'cause
it's
you
pretty
watch
nerdy. Yeah,
Film Theory.
I'll give you that one.
Yeah.
But
it's the game theory guy.
yes, it
You're
is.
watching Game Theory.
I don't think I know.
Matt.
Yeah.
Well, it's Matt Pratt.
Yeah, that's his
know what
spin-off
that
channel.
is.
It's really not. It's not a push-up glasses. It's more like you're young.
I was gonna say I was gonna defend you because I watch one where there's a dude who takes movies set in historical time periods and he breaks those movies down on how historically accurate they are, and that's one of my favorite. That's like a huge
Right.
Push
Well,
the glasses up, adjust the tape.
Matt Pratt does that, except for like the young teens. So my mentality.
He says tubular a lot.
Well,
he does it in like a tongue-in-cheek kind of way.
This is not me making fun of Damien, but based off of the kind of videos that we know Damien likes, I would say he would probably like Film Theory and Game Theory.
But he gets very deep into these details, and it's like obviously he's almost being tongue-in-cheek about most of these things because it's ridiculous.
Sure.
But it's just for entertainment purposes. Same thing with like a Game of Thrones theory.
Speaking of whiny internet babies, did you hear about what happened to him?
With Matt Pratt, no?
Yeah, so there was some game, and it was very much sort of like its art style was very much like Undertale's. And I guess he was doing a stream or something, and he gave credit to Undertale and I forgot the name of like the lead developer on Undertale, but he gave credit to that guy and the studio that made, or the developer that made Undertale,
Nigel Wentworth.
And yeah, there you go, Nigel Wentworth. Basically, he was corrected by this dude who was like, hey, you didn't do this, but also like it's real shitty that you're using other people's stuff and not properly crediting it and all that. Well, the internet just flipped out on him and started like grouping up and attacking this dude to the point where he's like defending himself on Twitter.
We talked about it. Was that last
The
week?
dude who was criticizing him, or Matt Pratt?
Matt Pratt. Everyone like sort of jumped on Matt Pratt because I love Undertale and I really like the guy that made it, but he's like a video game darling right now because everyone loves that game so much.
We talked about that last week. Did we talk about mob mentality last week? That's the problem here.
I don't think we delved into it, but we touched on it with like the Ubisoft.
I was talking about to someone about mob mentality, and that's the crux of everything, right? Mm-hmm. As soon as one person has a negative opinion, it's popular to jump on this negative opinion train. So like a YouTuber, it's a perfect, again, Anthem's a perfect example. We've got this game that's about to come out that I'm afraid is doomed before it's even come out because of public perception of this game, because people looked at this thing and it's like, oh, it's EA. It's automatically bad. Is the game good? I don't care. It's bad because it's EA. And then public perception and mob mentality jumps on it, and then YouTubers start jumping on it, and they make these videos where they bash EA and Anthem to get likes, right? The clickbait. It's like, here's why Anthem's bad. Here's why you shouldn't buy it. Here's why blah, 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 blah. And then their followers jump on and it's a huge mob mentality that ends up being this giant pyramid scheme that ruins things. Well, it just absolutely just completely ruins things.
It kind of sucks too because a lot of it seems disingenuous because it's more about what are other people saying about this rather than what's my own opinion on it. Because I think that like I said, my outside looking in perspective and not watching videos and not on the subreddits is that most people seem to like it and think that the betas, aside from the technical issues, were good. But I guess if I were making a YouTube video about it too, it would be real tempting to be like, well, everyone hates EA. Let's just make this an EA fight and not about the actual game, which is, I mean, that's exactly what happened to Mass Effect Andromeda.
Sure. Well, then make it an EA fight, not a fight against the game. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but you're right. But that makes sense. And it doesn't hurt anyone.
Of course.
And it doesn't hurt anyone. So why would I do that?
Yeah, it's insane. Like one guy makes a YouTube video assuming prices of a microtransaction because it's never, and then just the internet blew up that day, dude. Like it blew up. Well, I was talking like Battlefront 2 loot boxes blew up. Like it was huge.
There was this guy Skill Up. I watched a little bit of a video that he did, and he got
to start on Division 1. I really like him.
He was like, these are the problems with Anthem, and one of the things he said was microtransactions. He was like, it's real shady how they're not showing us how microtransactions are going to work. I was like, that's how every game works.
I know, every single
When
game.
have you ever played a beta and their whole storefront is up? Guess what? They A, don't want you to see it because it's probably not ready yet, and B, they don't want you to try to spend money on stuff that you're going to lose access to.
Right.
And the next thing he said was, he said that it doesn't look like it has a promising end game. I was like, but you played a beta that takes place in the middle of the story.
Yeah, sure.
How do you, does it have a promising end game? No, because most MMOs at the beginning don't.
No MMO at the beginning doesn't.
Most MMOs have a really disappointing end game for about 6 months, and then something happens and they get a better end game. But also, like, how do you know that? You're saying this with certainty, like you know for sure what the end game looks like, unless review copies have already been sent out, which I don't think they have. Nope. You don't know this, so why are you even talking about it?
Yeah,
right?
we can
just
only
wild assumptions.
Right, we can only assume with Endgame is like there's the three strongholds, and the 6 difficulty levels, Grandmaster 1, 2, and 3 being the hardest or your Endgame. So there's the 3 strongholds, which are for all intents and purposes strikes in Destiny.
Yeah,
and then the only other thing we know about is something called legendary contracts, and legendary contracts are. They're kind of like strikes in an open world. Like every time you pick up a contract, it's different. Every single time there's like 3 to 5 stages, and every single time it's a different progression. And so there's your different, you want to do random strikes, you just do random legendary contracts. It's like the end game's there. But again, like
it's not going to be great.
Let's go back to Destiny 1 when Destiny 1 first came out.
I mean, we can make a Division, Destiny 1, Destiny 2, Star Wars: The Old Republic, ESO, WildStar. Like, I can probably name 10 MMOs if you give me enough time that all had shitty end games, and I would say most of them have recovered from it.
Yeah, when WoW came out, they only had like 2 dungeons, and I don't even think there was a raid at the beginning when WoW first came out. That just... I mean, that's the thing is, like, what do you want?
Well,
right.
I mean,
like people want 5 years of content
sure,
on release.
on day one.
Well,
and one good thing about Anthem, at least, is they have the I think it's a boon of not having a PvP. So their entire team is dedicated to nothing but PvE stuff. Like, that's a really big advantage for a game developer that makes this stuff. And we could possibly see, this is pure wild pie in the sky, we could possibly see a new Stronghold monthly or maybe bi-monthly because of that.
And to EA's credit, they let them do that because I mean, if you look at Division and Destiny, in a lot of ways, their PvP aspect to their games, even with Division where it's a little bit smaller than it is in Destiny, that's really important to those games and that community. And EA was like, all right, BioWare, you don't want to make PvP, that's fine, like, do it. Not to say that EA is suddenly the best company in the world.
Of course not.
But it is a bold statement to make,
It's a risky thing to do.
For a game to only be cooperative PvE.
Yeah, I also think that BioWare got a nice pass because of the Battlefront 2 shit, right? I think I personally think EA is going to be super gun shy about microtransactions in this game. Like, I really, really do. Like, I know they're there, and I know the cosmetic and all that shit is there, but I really think EA is going to be super gun shy about this because they don't want. They can afford another flop, but they don't want another flop.
Man,
you know what I mean?
I'm of two minds of this because on one hand, it's like if they've learned from their mistakes, then that's something they should do. I think that their answer for learning from their mistakes is the fact that all microtransactions are cosmetic and they don't affect the game like they did in Battlefront 2, which is good.
Good, yeah.
But I think on the other hand that like one of the problems that they're going to run into is, or that what they're going to see as a problem is, okay, if this doesn't affect the game at all, why would people buy it? And I feel like their response is going to be to make an artificial economy where it's either really hard to earn the currency, or the items cost too much.
Sure.
And my answer to that though is like someone on the outside that doesn't know specifically. I know that there was some screenshot passed around that showed like different values and all that. To me, that doesn't matter because it's cosmetic.
Right. 100%.
So yeah, it might suck if it cost me $30 to buy a new skin for one of my armors, or whatever they're called, frames. Sure, that would suck, but at the same time, like that doesn't affect my enjoyment of the game.
And then that's one of the biggest arguments with a lot of people that are, I don't want to say defending Anthem, but being like, guys, just let the damn game come out before you jump to conclusions. Is that since it is all cosmetic, it's not going to hurt anybody because you choose not to spend $20 in the microtransaction store in Anthem.
I can't afford it.
Well, I'm just saying, just because you choose not to and I choose to, I'm the one funding the game. You get to pay the $60 buy-in and never have to spend another dime, and everything from here on out is free for you. Literally everything, unless EA and BioWare decide to change their mind. But BioWare's gone on record saying that all story DLC for Anthem is 100% free,
which is so risky.
Sure, it is. But the thing is they're hedging like people like me who are. I will probably spend money in the Anthem microtransaction.
No, they're going
store.
out. They're making the whales fund their game.
Right, exactly. I am more than willing to fund this game. So other people, maybe you and you guys don't have to. And that's the whole thing is like these people throwing this giant uproar about microtransactions being in their game. It's like, but you don't have to pay for it. You get everything for free for the foreseeable future, and you don't have to pay a dime except the buy-in.
Yeah,
Where on the scale of right and wrong is that bad, or bad and good is that bad? You know what I mean? You pay the buy-in and everything for you is free. you can even just play the damn game and unlock the shit that I'm paying money for.
Yeah, I think the problem kind of stems from the fact that the word microtransaction has pretty much become a trigger word.
Sure.
And
hard.
And
yeah.
people have to realize like microtransactions aren't inherently bad. Like you said, like that's kind of funding the free storyline.
Yeah.
Or the free story like expansions and not only that, it's a straight microtransaction for this cosmetic item that you want. It's not a loot box.
Sure.
Which nowadays is getting a little bit more rare, you know? Like it's not super common that you can just buy the thing that you want.
I mean,
Sure, yeah.
Part of that though comes back down to developers and just the sense that like it costs a ridiculous amount of money now to develop games. And not only are publishers refusing, I'm sorry, it comes back to publishers, not developers, but not only are publishers refusing to raise game prices, which I really think they should at this point, but they're also funding these massive projects and having studios work on them for way too long. Like Square Enix is in the news today, and they're in a rough spot because guess what? They have one guy that makes, their two biggest IPs, and he takes 15 years to make a fucking game. So they're sinking all this money into development costs.
But they're real good.
Yeah, they're real good. They're real good. But also they're putting a $60 game out there for a game that really I'm sorry, Final Fantasy 15, it might have sucked for everyone if the game was more expensive, but the quality of that game, it could have launched for 80 or 100.
Yeah, I a lot of times, I agree with you, especially with the raising of prices of games. I get it, but I don't know, man. I think I don't know.
But imagine so
would you be down for paying $100 for a buy-in of a game?
If it meant that I didn't have to spend money on a bunch of different pre-order exclusives and a season pass.
Oh, of course it doesn't.
Microtransactions.
Of course it doesn't. Raising the price of a buy-in means that's just the price of the buy-in. You're still gonna have to buy the season pass.
But that's
you're still gonna have to buy all that shit.
The theory is that this is the reason that publishers swear. Now, and mind you, part of this argument is having disbelief and accepting publishers at their word. But let's just go from here and take publishers at their word.
Okay.
Publishers are constantly complaining that games make too much or cost too much to make.
Sure.
So they have to launch 3 different editions of their game that come with a bunch of different DLCs and pre-ordered exclusives so they can make deals with the retailers and season passes because they can't charge more than $60 for their game.
Right.
So let's take them at their word. Let's say Anthem comes out and it's $100 and there's no microtransactions. All the skins are earnable in game in a fair and reasonable way. And there's still no season pass. I'm down for that future. Of course, that's not the reality, but the theory is that if we raise game prices, then we don't have to have all these fucked up markets for you to play a game.
Sure. I think the problem with that though is that we've almost seen that theory in practice and fail. Look at the difference between, this is almost a stretch. Look at the difference between PUBG and Fortnite. Kind of the same premise, roughly around the same time. Fortnite was free. PUBG had to pay $20 to play.
But we've also seen it work pretty significantly in the indie games market, where there is a huge amount of freedom in the way that you price your games. You have smaller games that are 2 or 3 hour experiences that are $10 to $20 that make a shit ton of money, and you have bigger experiences that are a little bit longer that are launching at 40 or 50. It's the difference between Undertale, which I think launched at 20, and Pillars of Eternity, which launched at 40 or 50, right? Pillars of Eternity, part of its success was from it being a Kickstarter, but that game had a shit ton of sales at the beginning of it coming out, and they were able to price it however they wanted based off of the experience.
Sure.
And for the most part, consumers felt that was fair. I mean, I probably would have rather had spent $10 on Undertale, but $20 isn't unreasonable, and $50 is more than worth the value. Is almost less than the value of Pillars of Eternity because you can get hundreds of hours of gameplay.
Yeah, but the reality is that theory works in theory, but the raising the price of a video game by $20, maybe $40 isn't going to offset the cost of what it costs to make an actual AAA game. That's the problem.
Part of me believes though that without this microtransaction market and without these 15 different editions of one game and all the other bullshit that publishers do, I also don't think that $60 is enough to float the cost of development.
Oh, I agree. I completely agree. But again, the blowback of raising the price, even $20 to $80 a game, you might see a collapse of the video game industry because of it. Because there's a lot of people that are not. It costs their. It takes everything they can do just to buy Call of Duty 1 year. Right. And if they raise that price to 80, it could just, it could.
Well,
I'm just saying.
Well, that's kind of my thinking too. Is how how many sales are you going to lose if you raise the price to $100 or $80 versus keeping it at 60? Because then
I think that's the balance that's hard to find. And
Exactly.
they're scared to do it.
You're-
I
think
would be
that-
very scared to do it.
I think that comes down to the console manufacturers, though, where you say, hey, we encourage everyone to start at a retail price of this dollar amount.
Are you talking about for the actual console? Instead of a console launching at $500, it launches
no,
at
no.
$300?
No, I'm saying that.
Oh.
Yes, partially that, but that'll never happen.
Of course not.
But I think it comes down to Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo agreeing on a price that games should cost, and then encouraging publishers to post at that price. Because what you're talking about is fair. That's an unfair market. If Call of Duty launches at $80. And people get mad about that, then Battlefield could come out next year and launch at $60 and be like, "Hey, we're better than
Sure,
Call of Duty."
yeah.
It's not a fair playing field. That
Sure,
you're undercutting
sure,
your
sure,
competitor's price. But if the console manufacturers, and of course they don't have as much control over the
No.
market as I'm theorizing, but if someone out there, if we set a standard for everyone, like, "Hey,
Sure.
this is the price of games. We're raising it across the board."
Sure.
That's part of what Nintendo got away with for a really long time, because when you're developing for cartridges, putting the product out on the market is way more expensive than doing a disc.
I would just be worried about the blowback, man. I'd be worried about almost a collapse in the industry if you rose it even just by $20, because I would be really scared that like people wouldn't be able to get their games, because it could be like, hey, somebody sits down, the family of mom and dad and 3 kids sit down and budget, and dad really wants Call of Duty one year, and it's like their yearly budget allows for $60 to buy Call of Duty, and if it goes up to $80, dad doesn't get Call of Duty that year, and like that kind of sucks, and that's a lot of people.
Well, and you have to
That's
remember
a shit ton of people.
You have to remember too how many people are fine with just getting the base game. Like there are tons of people.
Probably a lot.
There's tons of people who probably just look at it and it's like, yeah, the $60 edition, that's fine. That's all I need. And then for the people who want more, that's where you're making the big bucks and putting out DLCs and special editions.
Guess who's buying the special edition for Anthem and Division?
And
This guy right
as
there.
of right now, there's no sign of that stopping.
But
Like you guys aren't planning on not doing that.
Well, that's the thing about like Chris as a consumer, though, is that the reality is that if they raise the prices of games and had one edition that was standard, that was equal across the board, really as a consumer that wouldn't affect you.
Sure, would not. You're 100%
Pretty much
right.
every game you buy is $80 or more.
Or more, yeah. Because Division's 129
yeah.
this year, I think. So.
And that's that when you purchase a game, because you
Sure.
don't purchase games that often.
Sure.
But when you purchase a game, you know that it's worth it for you to buy that version because of how much time you put into it.
Yeah, actually, this year, starting January all the way through March, I will not. And speaking into March, I will not. It's all my games have been 80 or more. Because Kingdom Hearts is special edition, Anthem's the Legion of Dawn, and Division's the. It's not the one with the cool statue or the figure, but it's the highest highest one with just the game.
But even look at your fall purchases like Red Dead and even not your game, but didn't you guys buy the Pokeball edition of Pokemon Let's Go?
No, we did not.
Oh, you didn't?
No, because we
Wow.
looked at the Pokeball and was like, "That's dumb." It was it would have just been a dumb. Was
Wow.
it 60 or 70? It was like $60 or $70. It was expensive.
I thought they did a package that was like $100.
They did,
with
they
the
did,
game
but the
and
game was
thing.
only $40.
Yeah.
So
Really?
yeah, the game was I'm sorry, $49.99. It was $50.
Wow.
Was it?
I'm pretty sure that's how much we paid for it. I don't want to go get a receipt and look, but we didn't pay full price for Pokemon. Because it's not a full game. Sorry, people, it's not. But yeah, like the ball itself, we looked at it and was like, oh, this is how it works. It's like that's not worth the. I think it was like $60. So
Half my theory's right, but I mean the reality. Though,
we almost did though. To back up your theory, we almost did. Yes.
I thought you guys. I had no idea you didn't.
Yeah, we almost did.
But I think the reality of that conversation though is that the reason why game prices aren't going up is so that publishers can do this stuff.
Sure,
because
they will make a lot more money.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
If even 5% of your audience buys $20 skins in Anthem, that is more money than you would probably be making if you had just launched the game at a higher price.
Yep.
And that sucks, but that's the world we live in, where the people that publish our games, the main decision makers behind our games, don't actually care about video games at all. They just care about making their wallets a little fatter.
Sure, but at the same time, it does. Yes, it sucks. But it also doesn't, because like in the case of like ESO or Anthem, all you got to do is pay the base buy-in, and you're good to go. You never have to spend another dime. I really don't want to.
I've been thinking about this a lot. I haven't really been playing games lately, and part of that is a financial issue. I just have paid tuition and have a bunch of stuff coming up, and so money is not something that's actively available to me. But the other problem is that in the last probably 8 to 10 months, I really feel like money has been significantly hampering my enjoyment of games. Because, like, look at Forsaken, right? I would say that Destiny 2 is probably one of my most played games of last year. If not the highest, it's close to the top. But really, to get the full enjoyment out of my year of Destiny, I had to buy a season pass, an expansion, and another season pass. And sure, I can jump in and play Destiny without the new season pass.
Yeah,
and
how much did
probably
we
have
pay
some
total
time.
for Destiny 2?
60, 30, I believe.
30 for the
that's
first
90,
season pass, 90,
40
for Forsaken.
So 130 plus
another
another
40.
35.
40.
40.
was
So yeah,
39,
about
yeah.
170, and I didn't pay the last 40.
I did, and
Yeah.
I really wish I could get my $40 back
So,
toward Division.
so basically,
But-
$200.
yeah, almost $200 for 2 years of Destiny.
But I bought the new expansion in September, and sure, I can still play that content. But now I'm actively locked out of the experience of Destiny 2 because I can't afford the next thing. Or you buy a game and it has microtransactions, and I can play and grind and do all this stuff, but I'm still behind everyone else. Or
Which-
there's a huge time commitment. There's all these different
Yeah.
things. It's like it's no longer a thing where I can sit down and enjoy a game. The games like God of War and Kingdom Hearts and Spider-Man and the story in Red Dead.
I was gonna say not really Spider-Man because you got to pay the extra.
Yeah, again, I have to pay the
15
fucking expansion pass to play that
mhm.
stuff. It's not a thing anymore where you play a game and that's just your experience and you're done. They are constantly asking for my time. They're constantly asking for my money.
Which-
and if I can't give either of those, I'm having a less fun experience than
Sure.
the people that can devote the time and money.
Which I sound like a fucking shill for microtransactions all of a sudden, but that's another good thing about the cosmetic
I
microtransactions.
was just about to say that. Yeah.
Is it's funding the fact that all you have to do is pay the base price and you don't have to worry about shit like that.
Right. Let these whales, if they let them pay for it. Let them front the cost.
I just thinking about that, we paid almost $200 into Destiny 2. I did, and you weren't able to, so you paid about $160, $150 into Destiny 2, and you still can't play it because you don't have the money. But think if Destiny had this microtransaction store that was just cosmetic, I would have bought your way in already, Trey.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well-
and so that's the thing is I don't want to sound like a shill for microtransactions, but you look at ESO, you look at Star Wars: The Old Republic, you look at what Anthem's about to start doing, you look what Division's about to start doing. I'm the guy paying for other people's playtime in those games, and that's good.
But then you even extend that out, and this is not a problem with Anthem at all. It's a problem across the board. It's like I start a game. Let's talk about Red Dead for a second. I started a Red Dead, and I jump in online, and not only could Red Dead might not be the best example. I'll never forget buying Division. Right, Division had come out.
Yeah.
You'd been hyping it up for forever. I was excited to jump in and play with
so
you.
good.
I jumped in that first night, played for a couple hours, and then the next day I had school or work or something, and I came home, and you had been playing all day, and we really couldn't play together.
Yeah.
We could have. You just would have had to, you would have been killing everything super easy,
Sure,
and
yeah.
I wouldn't been able to play your content. And not only that, but then you look at games where there's a special edition. It's like I jump in, and you are going to jump in Anthem and probably have a really cool skin for your suit of armor and a cool emblem and a cool title and all this cool stuff. And it's like, oh wait, I didn't spend $100 and whatever dollars on the special edition, and so now I'm just basic bitch dude hanging out with my really cool friend who has the time to put into it today because he's already going to be level 1,000 and I'm probably going to be
Sure.
level 2 by the end of the day.
Sure, but that's
which is not me complaining about you as a thing, but it's like it seems like everything about games is it's like let's hamper your enjoyment, or let's remind you that even though you're a consumer, you're not as important of a consumer as someone else, and let's
Sure, I think
let's
if you
distance you from your
I
friends.
think if you
and-
look at
and
it, that's
affect your enjoyment.
that's a perception thing. That is 100% a perception thing. I don't think there's been plenty of games where I don't buy the special edition of something and I jump in and somebody looks way cooler than I do. But I don't care.
Well-
I don't care that he has a title above his name at level 1. That doesn't.
Well-
That's a huge perception
But
issue, not necessarily an issue with the game in general.
But it's almost created this is going to sound so weird, and this is really nothing against individual players. I think this is just the culture of games now. But it really has created sort of a class system in video games that the developer, not the developer, the publisher of the game is always going to respect the person that has 1,000 hours to put into Destiny, and who's willing to drop $200 on Destiny, and who's willing to grind hour after hour to get this one title. I mean, look at fucking Last Word, man. Like the quest for that.
Sure.
Even if I was playing Destiny, I'll never get that guy.
Sure, I agree with you with the class system, but I don't think it has anything to do with how much money or time you put into the game. I think it has to deal with it's getting to the point of like streamers and YouTubers. There's your class system.
But even for the average gamer too, you know, there was a lot of last year, you know, Daniel is really good at Destiny, and he had really figured out that system, and he had figured out ways to like get the best
Sure.
weapons and do that stuff. A lot of times it was oftentimes like personally frustrating. He didn't do anything wrong. It was personally frustrating to play with him because it was like, oh man, look at what he is able to do.
Sure.
Because he's able to put up with this stuff, and I'm never going to have that stuff.
Sure.
And I don't know what the solution is. I don't know how to make that better.
I don't think you can, man.
But it's sort of it's a weird place that video games are in, where it's
Sure.
like a lot of times it feels like my enjoyment of the game is significantly less than the person that can devote a lot of time or
Sure.
money or resources into playing it.
Sure.
Which when you turn on a game and you jump in and you're like, well, that guy has the last word and the whisper of the worms, and he's a badass, and look at all the cool stuff he can do, and I'm just playing the amount of time I can play because I'm a busy person, and why am I here? Because I'm not getting as much of it, and like I'm never going to be able
Sure.
to achieve that thing, so that's going to hamper my enjoyment. You know?
Sure, but that's the whole fear of missing out syndrome. That's a I think it's a different again. Like I think what you're saying is I don't think you're alone. I think a lot of people think like that, but it's a perception thing. I think it's a matter of how you go into the game. Just because somebody has last word, and you know you're never going to get it, that shouldn't hamper your that shouldn't hamper the way
maybe that's not the best
your
example.
enjoyment.
But look at us, like, you know, we never got to do the whole dungeon thing in the Dreaming City, that whole underground dungeon thing.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, like we never got to do that because we didn't have the time to grind and we weren't getting the lucky drops.
Sure, well
in
that's a
order to hit
problem with
600.
Destiny.
Well, yeah, but I feel like other games have that problem now too.
I'm not sure. I'm not so sure, man. I think there's a lot of games that are working away from that.
Maybe.
I really think there's a lot of games that are working away
Maybe
from
Destiny
that. Like,
just ruined video games. For
I,
me.
I,
That's what it sounds like.
I was literally gonna say that. Like, I was listening to. There's a guy. It's like at Lono on Twitter, but he does this podcast called Say No to Rage, and he's the only Destiny streamer that I've ever seen speak out against Destiny.
Yeah, that was the guy you posted on
Destiny's
Twitter, yeah.
not good. It's not in a good place. It's not treating gamers correct. Well, all this other stuff. And he does a podcast called The Rageous Roundtable where he has like 4 other guys, and he's the Twitch streamer that speaks out about Destiny. There's another guy that's a Twitch streamer that does Destiny that is like, he's basically like the Destiny shill, right? Mm-hmm. Then there's a guy who's over 30. He's basically my age. He's got kids. He's got a job. He only has time to play at night. And there's another guy. It's like this genius PvP player in all games. Mm-hmm. So it's got this
Weird dynamic
huge dynamic and plethora of perspectives on these games. And the guy who's over 30, I think his name is Mike. He summed it up perfect. He's like, Destiny ruined Destiny for me, and Destiny killed my enjoyment of Destiny. And he goes like, they're calling Anthem, or people are saying Anthem could be a Destiny killer. Like Destiny killed itself a long time ago.
Well,
it's like, holy shit, that's what happened. That's what happened with me before I even played Anthem. When did I delete? I deleted Destiny off my PS4 almost a month.
Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, almost
about
a month ago.
Yeah.
Like Destiny killed itself, man, in my eyes.
Well, and you know, like jumping off of Destiny for a second, because all of that is
Sure, it
true about
always
Destiny,
goes
and it's
back
what
to
we've been
Destiny.
saying for a year. But you know, like looking at Anthem and Division 2, those are 2 games that I'm really interested in. But part of me is like, why? Because like I maybe have 4 or 5 hours a week that I can put into that,
Sure.
which means that I can't really play with my friends because my friends have more time.
You can in Anthem because it scales.
Yes, but a lot of times, just any time that there's been a scaling mechanic in a game, one of the issues that you run into is that even though the enemies are scaled to your level, as an advanced player, you kill things way faster than I can, which I feel like hampers the fun of the other player, and also hampers the fun of the person that's trying to learn the game. You know?
Okay, and again, Anthem shill over here.
Yeah,
In defense of this game, like I don't necessarily foresee that happening because this game is so based on the cooperative work experience.
Right.
I can't kill things faster than Justin and I can kill things.
Okay.
And even if I'm level 30 and Justin's level 2, that detonation primer combo system that you need to rely on in this game makes all the difference in the world.
Well,
and it's crazy how you need how much you need to rely on that on the cooperative experience, not the solo experience.
Yeah, I mean it's and not to speak like too soon, but like it definitely seems like, at least from what we've played, like Anthem has kind of not necessarily figured it out, but like they have a pretty decent system.
They might have.
Like, you know, like it sounds like you haven't gotten to play it yet, but like a lot of the frustrations that I guess you've been feeling, like
You don't think that's a problem in
I
Anthem?
don't see it being a problem in Anthem.
I have a
you know?
hard time thinking it's going to be a problem.
Right,
Well-
and I could be speaking way too soon, and it could come out and it could be
Well,
shit.
and I
but-
hope all this is true, because I think that like in the last couple of years, these multiplayer games have offered a lot of enjoyment, and it's just. And I had more time back then. And
Yeah.
Right.
So if I can jump into Anthem and be level 3 or 4 and be able to play with Chris, who's near max level, and it still be just as fun as if we were the same level.
I warn you now, I'm going to look way cooler than you.
I know.
Okay,
that's how is that different than any
just-
game we have
yeah,
ever
just-
played together?
Just
I
accept
think the
that.
only
just
time I've
accept
been
it and
able
move
to
forward.
I think the only time I've been able to keep up with you is in Destiny, and that's mostly because the armor's shit. So it's really
just
easy for Hunter to look cooler
accept
than
it and
Warlock.
move forward. That's all.
well, there's your topics of the week.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys want to wait to do this, or if you want to do it after the news, or if you want to do it now. Do you guys want to talk about Kingdom Hearts at all now, or would you rather jump into the news?
Oh no, we can, because I mean that's what both of us
Yeah.
are playing.
Yeah, let's do it.
Hey Justin, what are you playing?
I played Anthem,
Yeah, so
so
did
let's
I.
talk about that. I'm just kidding. We did play Anthem together, though.
It's going to be good. I think it's going to be good. Barring the technical issues that every online game will always have on day one. Barring those issues, I think this game's pretty special. I'm not like, I don't want to be like, right, but I really do. I really do think this game's pretty special.
You're not the Moses of Anthem, but
I'll
you
be
know.
interested to see how you're feeling after the Division beta this weekend.
Sure, yeah.
But let's talk about Kingdom Hearts now.
Yeah.
That way we can be done with Kingdom Hearts.
So Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
It's fun. Is kind of how I can how I feel up. So playing it, I'm kind of constantly reminded how convoluted the story actually is.
Yeah, see, I feel the complete opposite.
Really?
I've never thought this. Granted, this is from somebody who pays attention, who plays these games multiple times,
And
who goes and reads, you know, every Jiminy Cricket journal page and
Right.
watches every movie and goes to every forum, and like, yes, I think the story is convoluted, but it's not hard. It's not necessarily hard to understand what's happening if you try.
Right, and that's what I was getting at. It's not that I'm sitting there, I'm like confused, like I don't understand what's going on. But it is, the story is very much like you kind of had to just accept their logic and the way things work in this world, which is fine. But yeah, I've only had time to put in maybe 10 hours into the game. Feels very smooth. I'm enjoying the combat. They've brought in a lot of things from the other Kingdom Hearts games that I've really enjoyed, like the forms. Forms have been really fun.
Mm-hmm.
You were right whenever you told me that I would like the attractions.
Mm-hmm. They're a lot of fun.
They are. Yeah, I thought it was going to be kind of hokey.
No, they're quite a bit
but
of fun.
it's very fun. Yeah, what do you think? What do you think?
The battle system in Kingdom Hearts is probably, to me, the shining, other than the story, which I'll touch on in a second, but the battle system from just a game mechanic wise is probably the shining star of this game. I don't think I've ever really played a JRPG that's as fast as as frantic, but I have total control over everything that's happening on screen. It almost feels like a hack and slash, like how much shit is happening on screen at the same time. But again, I always feel like I have total control over what's happening. It's extremely reactive. Like the input lag is non-existent. So every time I mean to do something, I do it. You know, I kind of akin it to a little bit like Dark Souls. Like when you mess up in Dark Souls, you know it's your fault.
Right.
In Kingdom Hearts 3, when I mess up, I know it's my fault. I know it's not necessarily. There's some enemies which we talked about earlier, but for the most part, if I mess up in Kingdom Hearts 3, I know I fucked up, and I know I can do better the next time around.
And
boss fights are a lot like that.
Yeah, and I went back. This was probably a couple of years back that I went back and wanted to play some of the original Kingdom Hearts. And going back,
Kingdom Hearts 1's bad.
Man,
It's terrible.
It is sluggish.
Yep.
The amount of platforming that you have to do in the game and how bad the platforming actually is, it's rough.
See, now that's the one thing I have an issue with. There's a couple things in Kingdom Hearts, and I'm starting to run into. I'm about 25 hours in. I'm at the Pirates of the Caribbean world. There's some things where you have to not necessarily platform, but I don't think the jumping and the running up walls and the rails, I don't think all that's great. I think it's kind of not cumbersome. It's all reactive, but it's just not great. I could deal without it. My biggest complaint, though, is that this game is turned into a 60-hour movie, and you fight in between cutscenes.
Yeah.
Like, and that's kind of annoying. Like, you can always go back to the worlds and explore them, but the first time through the worlds, you are basically on a rail, and it's guiding you from place to place, and it's cutscene fight, cutscene fight, cutscene fight, cutscene fight, cutscene fight.
And some of these cutscenes are
They're
long.
lengthy, yeah. I understand why this game took 12 fucking years to make, is because they were making a 60-hour movie in fucking Disney Pixar engine. You know what I mean? So like it's crazy how many cutscenes there are in this game, which I don't have a problem with, because again, chill for Kingdom Hearts story over here. I love this story. I fucking love it so much. I've loved this story since the first one. I've played and I understand it. I know what's happening. When a revelation happens in game, my jaw drops and it's like, holy shit, I'm super invested and it's great. However, I don't think again, I'm not done with the game. Right now though, there's little things that are just starting to get like, God, that's annoying. Like the eye twitch annoying. And it's the platforming, and it's the movement, and it's the consistent cutscenes over cutscenes over cutscenes.
You touched on the story a little bit. At least with the story that I've experienced so far. And we kind of talked about it the other day. Sora is the game overall is like a weird mix of like, it seems almost too lighthearted what's happening.
No, the story is pretty serious.
Right.
Sora's
the way
too
Sora
lighthearted.
reacts to the story is very lighthearted.
He gets a little bit better as the game goes on.
Does he? Okay.
Yes. However, him, Donald, and Goofy are still 6-year-olds in an adult world.
Which is
like,
weird
it's
because
weird.
it seems like everyone else's age. Like you have like Riku and everybody who's like pretty intense and knows what shit's going down.
I just have to say, from an outsider perspective, and let me just start this out with everything I'm about to say is completely 100% invalid, and I know it's invalid, but I'm going to say it anyway because this is just what I think. Over the last year or so, I've been watching Whitney play Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 and whatever else is on that collection on the PS4. Just put it on, I'll sit down and watch it. And I think there's a lot of passes that I give those games mentally because they're older and it's like I don't understand them. But sitting down and watching Kingdom Hearts 3, the first thing I noticed is it's beautiful. It really is a pretty game. The environments are great. They've done a great job.
It was almost a little jarring, like seeing how beautiful it is now compared to some older.
Wait till you get the pirates. Wait till you get to the pirates' land.
Yeah.
But from like sitting down and watching the game in an overworld perspective and watching you guys move around the world, it looks so archaic. It doesn't look like jumping from Halo 5, from Halo 1 to Halo 5. Halo 5 looks like an evolution of Halo 1. Like, sure, mechanically there are things that are going on that are similar, but for the most part, like, Halo 5 looks like a modern advanced experience from a gameplay perspective compared to Halo 1. To me, from an outside looking in perspective, where I don't understand what's going on the controller and I just see what's on screen, there is practically no difference from an outside perspective on the gameplay from Kingdom Hearts 1 to Kingdom Hearts 3, which in a lot of ways might be a little bit of a compliment to the developers for staying true to what that game is. But it's hard looking at it as someone there because it's like, it just looks like a modern remake of an old game.
Yeah, no, it's very different. It feels extremely different.
I think the feel is the biggest difference, but I can see what you're getting at whenever it's like basic mechanic standpoint. It is very similar to Kingdom Hearts 1.
Sure.
It just seems like the camera is not completely smooth, which it sounds like it's not from what you guys have said, because you were basically like, hey, like you got to lock on to things. If you don't lock on to things, like the camera control is a mess.
Yep, especially in a fight.
At least you can control the camera.
The other thing about the fights is
It
that
wasn't always like that.
Yep.
from watching the game, watching people fight in that game is the worst thing I could be doing with my time. Because it just looks like a grindy, long fight where things just keep popping in. It seems like it never ends.
I guess from an outside perspective, sure. But when you're actually doing it, again, like I said, when I'm fighting in Kingdom Hearts 3, I feel like I have complete and utter control. But from an outside perspective, it probably doesn't look like I do.
Well,
it probably looks like my dude's just going flew all over the place.
It definitely looks like
attacking whatever you're locked onto.
Then a pirate ship comes out of nowhere, and then all of a sudden I'm on teacups and like, what the fuck is going on?
It looks like you do have control. It's not necessarily that. It does. Whenever you use powers and stuff, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? That's fair. The thing that's confusing for me as a player is it doesn't look like fun.
Oh, it's a lot
and
of fun.
And it doesn't look like, from a mechanic standpoint, that players are necessarily doing anything different from fight to fight.
No,
There's definitely a lot of
like this is just me watching it, by the way. This is, like I said, invalid opinions.
Also, not watching for a long period, watching in like 5 to 10 minutes.
And that's the thing that throws me off is like I can see Whitney playing in Toy Story World and doing something, and then I come down and watch you play in Pirates World, which I'm assuming is further in the game, and it's like this fight looks exactly like the fight I just watched, yesterday with Whitney, who's 20 hours behind.
Sure, it does, but you're consistently getting better and better, and like once you go in there and look at your abilities, like I've got 20, 30, 40 abilities that I'm using all at the same time, and the game gradually gives you those things. So to the player, it's a gradual experience, and that curve is very gradual.
You're learning as you go.
But
and you can customize those abilities too,
but
to your
you're
playstyle.
In chunks, so you don't see me gradually getting these abilities and gradually getting better and better and getting more keyblades, and those keyblade morphing abilities are better than the ones I had before, and then there's a ton of things where that curve is really nice. But if you're not the one playing and you're not watching that curve up, then I totally understand where you're coming from, because essentially it is. I'm literally doing the same thing every battle,
which is every game, to be fair.
Of course,
play devil's advocate.
Of course,
advocate.
Of course, I am doing the same thing every battle. However, if you were to sit down and watch me for, let's say, 10 hours, 10 hours ago, I was not doing the same thing in battle that I'm doing now.
It's good to know.
And so a lot of it comes from the keyblades. You can have 3 different keyblades, and I'm consistently switch depending on the enemy that I fight. I get a feel for what the fight's going to be, and I know which keyblade I need to switch to, which is super awesome. Like those little improvements. It's one of those things that's right. I would like to say if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But Kingdom Hearts 1. I guess 12 years ago, it was broke, but 12 years ago, it was pretty fucking awesome. Well, so if it ain't broke...
We didn't know it was broke
Sure,
then.
if it ain't broke 12 years later, don't fix it. I think if we would have gone into Kingdom Hearts 3 with a completely different style of play, I don't think it would be anywhere near as enjoyable as it is.
Well, and it's more... Certain things about it it's certain things about it, and maybe I can't point them out directly, just make it look archaic. I think the camera...
Sure,
to me, when you're controlling the camera, that's the thing that stands out to me the most. That is something that hasn't changed that much between games. Now
it's a little bit better, but the camera's always an issue in those. In third-person action RPGs, the camera's always an issue.
But in with Kingdom Hearts specifically, it's like it just doesn't look like it's drastically changed in the way that maybe it should have over 12 years. And again, I'm not playing it, so I don't know.
Sure.
The last thing about it that I just have to say, that from an outside perspective, and all this is leading to my final conclusion, that I really want to play this game at some point so I can understand why people think it's good, because I legitimately, from an outside perspective, I'm like, I don't get it.
It's because if you pay attention to the story, it'll hit you in the feels, and that's all that matters.
That's the problem, though, is I'm sitting here trying to pay attention to those stories that I don't understand. Yeah. One of the most reoccurring things that I've noticed in a Kingdom Hearts cutscene is that someone says something to Sora. Sora looks like he's staring off into space, and then they ask the question again, and Sora gives like a 3-word answer.
Yep.
And this is a consistent theme throughout all the cutscenes.
Yep.
The next thing I notice is that, like,
Sora's got a lot going on.
Well, but it's not like it's more like, it's less like you're talking to someone that has a mind where they're thinking about really important things, and more like you're talking to an imbecile, because he's just sitting there like kind of smiling and staring off into space.
It's interesting, right? Because Sora's supposed to be 15.
Yeah.
A normal 15-year-old with the weight of what's happening in this game, if you were to relate that to real life, Like, this kid should be having a nervous breakdown.
Well, and that's the other thing is that, like, you know, consistently when I talk to you about it or when I hear you guys talk about it, there's this idea that there is some impending doom, and I've even read this online. There's some impending doom, something big is happening from someone coming in and maybe watching like maybe 10, 15, 20-minute chunks every now and again. I have no idea that there is any story outside of the Disneyland stories.
You would never guess that
I have
Sora
not seen an
knows
Agent
about
13
any of it.
or whatever they're called, dude. I have not seen Riku. I have not seen Heartless. All I see are the Disney stories being replayed.
And here's the overlying issue with, at least for me in Kingdom Hearts, from the first one, is that the worlds are only there for filler. If you were to take the worlds out, you would have maybe a 10 to 15 hour game, including cutscenes.
Okay.
Where that's where the meat of the story is. But these games last 80 hours because you've got to play through the entirety of Frozen. By the way, finally heard Let It Go in its entirety. Great fucking song.
It is a great song.
Good song.
And
I'm glad I was like, where is this going? Because I actually like that song.
great fucking song.
There's a reason kids sing it still to this day.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the overlying issue with Kingdom Hearts, and that's the hardest entry point for anybody to get into this series, is you got to force yourself through that first game, and you got to force yourself through every single Disney world. While they're fun, and they're the Disney characters, and they're fun, and it's imaginative, and if you're a Disney fan in the first place, it's even better. The nostalgia's there, but you got to force yourself through that first game so you get it, so you can get that overarching Kingdom Hearts story, because the Kingdom Hearts story literally has nothing to do with the Disney world.
I was just about to say
nothing whatsoever.
That's the hardest thing to explain to people, is the fact, because they're like, okay, so how do like where do Donald and Goofy and everybody else come into play? And it's like they just kind of take place in the same universe.
Yes,
that's it.
The only reason Disney worlds are there is because those worlds are being used by said bad guy for some purpose.
And to your point, though, I think that I understand that, knowing you for as long as I've known you and knowing you for as long as I've known you. I think I understand at this point that, like, that's how Kingdom Hearts works. The thing that throws me off, and again, I had seen this criticism too, so maybe this is why this is standing out, is that the idea is that there is a very pressing story happening outside of the Disney worlds. And from what I can tell from an outside looking in perspective,
You have no idea.
I have no idea.
Sure.
I could easily see, if had I not known that, I would just be like,
sure,
this is the last game, or you're just doing the same thing you've
been
doing for forever.
And it's awesome because, you know, without getting too far into details, like I got to this point yesterday and Whitney just got to it today. And there's a revelation about the organization that I don't want to spoil for anybody, but there's a revelation about the organization that is revealed. And it's one of those things that's like, yesterday when I played it, I had the Revan moment. And my jaw dropped. I'm not 100% sure what the revelation is. No. Listen, because I want to say this without being too spoilery. They said the revelation, but there's still mystery behind it. Does that make sense?
It's kind of like if they revealed you were Revan at the beginning of the game before you know who Revan is at all.
No, because it would be like you knew who Revan was, and they hinted that you had something to do with Revan.
Oh, okay.
And you found out later on.
So it's like foreshadowing the actual reveal.
And there's a big revelation after Frozen World where that happens. And again, like I said, I had the Revan moment and my jaw dropped and I thought to myself, holy shit. And I saw it again before we came over here because Whitney got to it. And literally this entire time, no offense to you guys, but I'm not listening to what you guys are saying because I'm trying to think what it means.
You're doing a great job at responding.
And I can do a lot of things at the same time. And I've been trying to think, because that's the best part about Kingdom Hearts. If you understand it, the theory crafting's there. And like you can think about, holy shit, this could be it.
Did you just figure it out?
I think I just figured it out. Holy fucking shit, I think I just figured it out. Hurry up and beat the fucking game.
You haven't even beat it.
Well, I need to talk to somebody about this.
He hasn't even beat it, and I would like to point out, I'm only like 10 hours behind him.
I need to...
That's not bad.
I get through worlds fast.
Although I also, from my friend...
That's fair.
Whitney's at 30 hours, I'm at 26, and she's 2 levels behind me.
My friend went to her like aunt and uncle's house this weekend. To play through the game because they had bought it and she doesn't own a PS4. She said it took her 32 hours to play through and also get the final ending. Or I'm sorry, to get the secret endings
Oh,
So-
You only the secret ending. You only need what I say 60.
60 of
If
the
you're on normal, you need
pictures.
60 of the lucky emblems. 30 if you're on proud mode. So I'm 26 hours. It's the revelations are starting to happen and it's winding down. And I'm double checking my reference to see if I'm right about this.
Well, that's what we're playing.
Yeah. So news this week. We got a lot of news and a returning segment that hasn't been back in quite a while. That's a subsection of news. We'll go into that. First up on the news, Respawn Entertainment has revealed their new first-person battle royale game set in the Titanfall universe, Apex Legends. Respawn has revealed that Apex Legends' first season, scheduled to begin in March, will feature a battle pass that will grant players access to exclusive cosmetic items earned through gameplay. A seasonal model will continue, with each theme season bringing new content in the form of weapons, legends, skins, and more. That was weird. Oh, no, there's not a period there. Respawn is currently working on crossplay for Apex Legends, but it is not promising anything at the moment. Also, it had 1 million players on its first day.
Wait, so you're paying for a battle pass for cosmetic shit that you have to unlock in game? Is that what that says?
I think that's how battle passes usually work. You pay for the battle pass, and then you do things throughout the season to unlock cosmetics in the game.
Correct.
I don't play battle royale games, so I don't know how that unlocks. I don't know. I would see that's the thing. It's like if I'm gonna pay for something, you just give it to me.
Right.
Don't make me play for it. If I'm gonna play for it, I'll just play your game.
Basically, Fortnite did it, and everyone's like, "That's a good idea. We should
Well,
do that."
But it's not a good idea.
I think it is a good. I think it is a good idea for a free to play game, and I think Apex
maybe.
right now is a free to play game. It's not. How much does it cost? Will someone Google that?
Somebody get on
Well,
Steam.
it is. I know it's
Is
a
it on Steam?
standalone, but
Get on Steam, see if it's on there. See how much it costs.
for free to play games, I think it makes sense because it's like, hey, this is how you float new content happening, and
Yeah,
also
I
it gives
guess.
you something to strive for.
I guess, but like if I'm gonna pay for something, give it to me. That's like me going to Whataburger and I pay for a number 2 with cheese, right? Extra cheese or whatever you say, whatever it is, and they make me go wash dishes for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that doesn't make any sense.
What?
Apex Legends is free.
Okay,
Okay.
cool. I was like, I thought it was free to play. I will say though that in terms of like battle royale
Whataburger
games,
sounds good.
this one actually looks. I was very interested in what I watched of it.
Titanfall.
Well, it's Titanfall, but also one of the touches that I thought was really cool is just such a simple thing. Every multiplayer game should do this. I noticed that when I was watching it, they didn't have if the people were chatting, they didn't have the chat plugged into the game, but so it was just straight gameplay. No one was talking over it or anything. But the characters in game, as things are happening, as they see things, they communicate what's going on to each other. So
cool.
if you spot someone, your character says out loud, "Hey, there's an enemy this far away."
Oh, that's cool.
When you put a marker down on the map, which is another cool thing, is
Did
that
they
you
say
can
it like that?
Yeah.
Hey, there's an enemy this far away.
yeah.
Or are they like tactical? Like
Yeah,
enemy
more tactical.
spotted 26 meters.
Yeah, it's more tactical than that. but-
Enemy over that
Over
way.
that way.
Another cool thing is that you can mark locations on the map in game to say, "Hey, let's meet up here,"
Oh, that's
or
cool.
"There's an enemy over there."
Well, that's
but they,
that's because you can only queue in multiplayer.
yeah, which is cool.
A lot of people don't like that.
Whatever. I think it. I'm sure they'll add a solo mode eventually. But to me, like the fact that all the communication happens in game between characters means that I don't need to be mic'd up with someone to communicate well, and the things they say are actually helpful. So I feel like this is a game, I'll never do it. I will probably never play this game. But I feel like this is a game that I could jump into and go micless and feel like I'm having a good enough experience to compete with people that are on mics.
Yeah.
Because it's happening frequently enough and it's valuable enough information that it was just a cool touch.
Any
Yeah,
word,
'cause
word that has less after it kind of sounds naughty.
Yeah, no,
Maybe
because
we're micless.
like typically whoever the one person has mic in like the group is like, all right, I guess I'll tell everyone what to do,
Yeah.
and it's like
Yeah. And
a good way around that.
it's a nice touch, and it I don't know, the guns look great. The fact that it's
They're all
like the cool
Titanfall guns.
future, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
the futuristic sci-fi elements to it.
There's
Look cool.
it's basically from what I understand, the entire game was built in the Titanfall engine. Number 1.
Yes.
Number 2, pretty much every asset from Titanfall 2 is in the game. Guns, architecture, landscapes. It's basically just a game built in the Titanfall 2 engine,
Yeah.
which is not a bad thing. However, I tweeted out, hey guys, wouldn't it be funny if Respawn announced a Battle Royale game before they say anything else about the only fucking Star Wars game in
Yep.
development?
And it happened.
What the fuck, guys?
You weren't wrong.
In more Titanfall news, in an interview with Eurogamer, I believe, lead producer Drew McCoy stated that Respawn is currently not working on Titanfall 3. Quote, "There are some people who think there are too many Battle Royale games or it's a fad. The world thinks we're making Titanfall 3, and we're not. This is what we're making," end quote. However, Respawn CEO Vince Zampella went on Twitter and stated the following, quote, "We are also working on more Titanfall for later this year. In the year," end quote. One of the interesting things is Kotaku reported that they had started working on Titanfall 3 in 2017.
And they got morphed into this.
Well, EA wanted something faster.
Sure.
So they put all their assets into working on this game, which seems to be a common thread lately where EA wants something faster.
I have a quote from 2016 that I thought was hilarious after this got announced.
Shoot.
This is a interview between a games journalist. I don't know where it came from. A games journalist and Vince Zampella and an EA PR representative.
Okay.
Where do I want to start? When asked whether he's worried about the support from EA, this is after Titanfall 2 released in 2016. So, backstory, Titanfall 2 got released in the 2-week window of Battlefield 5, was it? Or Battlefield 4?
Battlefield 1.
Battlefield 1, you're right. Battlefield 1 and maybe a
Call of
month
Duty.
after Call of Duty or before Call of Duty. Titanfall got released in the worst possible Titanfall 2 got released in the
It
worst
got
possible
sandwiched,
spot.
didn't it?
It got sandwiched
Yeah.
between Battlefield 1 and Call of Duty. So it was one of those things that's like EA kind of just put it out there and was like, not doomed it to fail, but anyway.
But doomed it to fail.
Doomed
they
it to
did.
fail.
Yeah.
Asked whether this, and this is a game journalist asking Zampella, asked whether or not he's worried about the support from EA of their game while going up against Battlefield 1 at a very similar time. He had to say, quote, it's always a concern. That's what I'll say, especially when you have two games on top of each other. It's then when the question of support comes up and whether they'll commit to it. Quote from Zampella again, "We don't know yet. The game is critically a huge success, which it was. Titanfall 2 reviewed extremely well.
It's a great game.
We're really happy with all the reviews and the positive sentiment. Sales, it's too early to tell. We know now Titanfall 2 did not sell well. It sold okay. Didn't sell great. We definitely like to tell more of the story in the universe, and I think it's pretty safe to assume that we'll explore more of it. EA might have announced more." Devin Bennett, as a published for EA, replies, "Oh, what we've said is we're committed to the franchise," where Zampella follows up with, "Yeah, so whatever the fuck that means." Literally quoted to an EA representative, "Hey, we're committed to the Titanfall universe." Titanfall creator goes, "Yeah, whatever the fuck that means." And now, 4 years later, we have Apex Legends and not Titanfall 3.
Which is funny because I think, from what I understand, EA purchased Respawn in 2017.
Something like that.
So that was before EA had purchased Respawn.
Purchase, yes. Still published the Titanfall games,
Yep,
however.
still
yeah.
published them.
But yeah, so you know that if that's not a hey, I'm making this game, but
Man,
whatever the fuck EA wants to do.
you know the
Yeah.
the funny thing about talking about EA Studios is anytime we do it and we're sitting down, the thing that I can't help but think with BioWare and Respawn specifically is it's like one day we'll probably sit down and do this podcast and it'll be right after those studios have been closed.
Possibly.
And because to me, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And it might be 20 years from now, or it
I'm
might
worried
be
that
3
BioWare
years
is going to
from
be
now.
closed in 2020 because people are going to doom Anthem. People have already doomed Anthem.
They closed Visceral.
Yep.
So, Visceral was a fucking amazing
If
studio.
BioWare doesn't sell fucking 18 million copies, I'm sorry, if Anthem doesn't sell 18 million copies, I'm really afraid BioWare is going to be shut down.
I think anyone who cares about BioWare
Should be worried as fuck.
should be worried, especially if they are hating on Anthem.
Yep.
Because, sorry, like,
You're well, that's the thing is like if you actually really if you like BioWare and you're worried about their well-being and you're hating on Anthem, shame on you. Number one.
You know, it's one thing to say like this isn't my kind of game and I don't know if I want to play it.
Right.
That's fair because you know
100%.
there's tons of people that love BioWare and didn't really feel Mass Effect or didn't feel Dragon Age.
Yep.
However, it's another thing to say I hate this game because it's an EA game and I'm not going to buy it because I don't want to support EA. But it's like that's not really the argument you're making. You're saying I'm not going to support BioWare.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Like if you don't, like you have to realize, like if you don't like EA and you don't help support this game that is genuinely a good game, at least from what we can tell, they're just going to shut BioWare down and they're just going to move on to something else. Like
Sure.
you're not hurting EA at all.
Sure.
You know.
And let's be real for a second. This is sort of a position that EA has put us as fans in that's really uncomfortable because they're essentially, you know, holding BioWare by the neck and pressing a gun to their head and saying it's up to you.
Yep.
And we all know that, and that shouldn't be our responsibility as consumers, but unfortunately, that's the world we live in. So,
I'll take responsibility for it because I'm paying $80 for this game.
I'll pay money for it eventually.
Free, you say, huh?
Microsoft is bringing Xbox Live cross-platform support to the Nintendo Switch, iOS, and Android devices. The announcement was teased from the conference schedule details for GDC 2019, which has since been taken down, and will take place next month. Xbox Live achievements, friends, game history, and multiplayer abilities across the other platforms will be available after the release. The description read, quote, Xbox Live is about to get much bigger. Xbox Live is expanding from 400 million gaming devices and a reach of over 68 million active players to over 2 billion devices with the release of our new cross-platform XDK. Get a first look at the SDK to enable game developers to connect players between iOS, Android, and Switch, in addition to Xbox and any game in the Microsoft Store on Windows PC, end quote.
If it ever leaks, just leave it up there. People will
Yeah.
more likely be less to like freak out about it because then they'll think it's fake. It's like the E3 leaks last year. Remember that whole like list of games that came up at Target? Like people were like, "There it is," and it ended up being somewhat right, but it was pretty much not right.
Yeah.
and it got left up,
Yep.
and it was wrong. As soon as you take it down, it's like, "Oh, yep, this is definitely coming now." Thanks.
Well,
Microsoft.
it just
adds
now we know.
validity to it, yeah.
now-
Well, and what happens is that someone from fucking Microsoft gets on the phone and goes, "You need to take that down. You are spoiling things." It's like, it's already on the internet.
yeah, it's there.
You've already lost, my friend. Just leave it up.
Once it's there, you're done.
I guess to the point, does anybody care? Like, this is cool, but I don't think any of us are Xbox players very much anymore. Except
Well,
for this guy.
I mean, I still
not really.
I mean, I still play my Xbox to
Yeah,
play
but are you gonna play
Overwatch
your
and stuff.
you gonna play Xbox on your Switch? You
Well-
log into Xbox Live on your Switch.
See, that's the thing, and that's
you're
why
gonna play. You're gonna play fucking Galaxy Wars on your Switch.
well, that's why I don't care because it's like you're not, at least from what I could tell, you're not playing anything. It just seemed like you could just.
I don't know
add-
what that's. I don't understand what you can do.
So-
Can
It
I
just
play-
seemed.
if I bought Galaxy Wars back on 360 on my Xbox Live account and it's still there, can I play Galaxy Wars on the Nintendo Switch?
It seems
No,
like it's just like you can add friends and you can message, check achievements, right?
The idea is that say I have Call of Duty on my Switch, and
Cool.
you have Call of Duty on your Xbox.
Cool.
I can use the Xbox Live SDK to play with you. So I'm essentially accessing Xbox Live, and we're playing cross-platform on the Switch. Not only that, but it means that I can hook up my Xbox Live account to any platform except for PlayStation, and when I accomplish something on that device, whether it's on an Xbox, PC, phone, Switch, I am unlocking achievements on my Xbox Live account.
so it's basically just cross-platform support,
Basically,
not
but
cross-platform play, cross-platform support.
it's also, in the case of the Switch and iOS, it's also sort of adding a element of consistency between your accounts. It means that I can essentially pick up, to a lot of people, their achievement score and what their gamer tag reflects about them is super important. And that means that I can have a consistent sort of place where all of the information from every game I'm going to, except for on PS4, is being updated at. So if I'm playing Threes on my phone, which is a game I play every day, as I'm unlocking achievements on my phone, it's going to my Xbox Live account. And so my Xbox Live reflects the actual games that I'm playing. It also means that on Switch, which doesn't have its own achievement marketplace like Xbox Live does, that you can add that stuff in. Like, I don't think this is going to happen, but in theory, Nintendo could be like, you know what? We're going to put Super Mario Odyssey achievements on Xbox Live, and you can unlock them on Switch. Now, it's never going to be a case where, except for PC and Xbox, where you're going to have cross-play ability. You might
Sure,
be able
of
to
course
stream
not.
games from your
Yeah,
Xbox
yeah.
or PC, because you're going to be cutting into sales for other devices for games on there. But it does add that level of consistency that doesn't currently exist. I think that's one of the most infuriating things, is that between Xbox, PC, and PlayStation, you essentially have 3 different accounts, and they all say different things about you as a gamer. But now, for most devices, you can synchronize that onto one thing.
I don't care. This is me. This is 35-year-old.
Do you know? But let me ask you, because I don't know that I really care all that much, but I think the reason why I don't care is because I don't really care about my gamer tag anymore.
Right, same here.
Would you be more excited if this was a feature that PSN offered?
No.
Okay, that's fair.
I
I would be
just-
more excited if it was a PSN.
I don't necessarily, my existence doesn't hinge on my gamer score. And I know a lot of people really do take pride in that, but I just don't. I don't take pride in my achievements. I like my platinum trophies,
I think
but that's more of a personal accomplishment than it is showing somebody off like I've got these things.
that's fair. I think more for me is just the amount of history that exists on a PSN ID. Like when you go and you look through the games that I've played, that says something about me as a gamer. It's less the trophies,
Yeah,
but like when you can go through and see like, oh man, like 8 years ago, Trey played Dragon Age Origins on his PS3 for the
Sure,
first time.
I guess.
Like, I
But
think that's neat.
I guess, but in the long run, who cares?
Well, like I
When
don't
I'm
know.
80 years, when I'm 90 years old, or 100 years old, or 60 years old on my deathbed, I don't know when the fuck it's gonna be.
Wouldn't you like to see what the first game you played on your
No.
PSN ID was?
That's my point. Is like I don't care about my. I don't mean in the grand spectrum of things in life, gaming's important to me, but my gaming history is not.
Well, my thought process on this is like, it seems like it's geared towards people who are very much like all about their Xbox or Microsoft account. But then I feel like those people
This
aren't.
is for people with Windows phones.
But I feel like that's like those people aren't clamoring to try and play on like other systems. Like if you're that bought into being in Microsoft and playing on your Xbox,
You're not.
you're
Gonna
just playing on
Switch.
Xbox.
But maybe you will play on Switch now.
I mean,
like,
maybe you
because,
will,
like,
but
say-
I don't think this would like encourage you.
Well,
to.
like look
I
at
don't
the.
know.
I think look at the guys at Rooster Teeth, right? Like these are guys that are like, oh, I play Xbox and Xbox is my main system because achievements were a big deal years ago, and I don't want to give up that history.
Because they're douchey.
And so that might encourage people that feel that way, that have that mentality that it's like, oh, hey, if I play on my Switch, now that's included in what's going on Microsoft. I'm going to try more things on my Switch. Because they might be like, hey, I'm not going to play Breath of the Wild or Super Mario Odyssey because there's no achievements, and that's time that I could be spending on any other game on my Xbox and be bringing up my gamer score. Something that people care about, and you're smiling, and I get that.
It just seems
but that's
like-
something that
that's
people
such a,
care about.
like-
It seems like a niche thing.
No, that's just that right there. Like I understand the connectivity, but that's such an elitist attitude that you're right. People think
People
of.
have that way.
Yeah, I'm not going to play Breath of the Wild because it's not on an Xbox. Like that's ridiculous.
And I have to say that, like, as a gamer, something that infuriates me on a daily basis, again, for me, it's not about the trophies or the achievements. We've had the capability since the 360 and PS3 era to keep a really good history on the way that gamers play games. But we also want gamers to play games on as many different platforms as possible so that all these different companies are getting money in their pockets. And it's sort of infuriating for me as a gamer to not have a way to consistently track my gaming history.
Why though?
Because we have the capability of doing it.
But that doesn't mean you need to.
But-
it's not important.
But the reason why I'm not able to is because companies want to have their own thing for everything.
Sure, I understand.
Like the thing that keeps me from having that history, the thing that keeps me from having that
it's the-
consistency is
it's the-
corporate greed.
Sure, it's the Trey mentality. You can't do it, so you want to do it more.
No, I think, no, maybe a little bit. Yes. Maybe, like, yeah, let's not throw that out
No,
there because that's
I'm
not wrong.
and that wasn't like a jab or anything. That's that's
Well,
that's
but
kind of
look at me as a media consumer, right? Like for the last 3 years, I've kept track of every movie, every season of television show, every game that I've played,
Yeah,
every
no,
game that
that's
I've
true.
beat.
No,
Like,
that's true.
really important to me as
yeah.
an
No,
individual.
you're right. You do
So,
do that.
so I wish that I had
There's
one single account.
literally
for my
people
games.
listening to this. There's a list on his phone of everything he's accomplished media wise in the last couple of years.
and I
It
never
really is
share
there.
it.
It's
Yeah.
impressive.
I don't ever like post it
No,
on Facebook.
but
I
it's,
just
it's
like
important to
know.
you. Sure, I understand.
And I wish I had one account that did that.
But see, you're such a, like Justin said, it's
data.
niche. You're such a
It's an oddity.
anomaly. Nobody does that.
Yeah.
And that, that again, that's not a jab.
No,
It's
I know.
Not. Nobody does that, and it's weird. But this is perfect for you, so
Yeah.
I get it. I totally understand it.
Yeah.
I get it. I just I don't personally care.
And I think
Right.
I think a lot of the reasons why people don't personally care too. Again, I regardless of any situation that this thing exists, it's going to be a niche thing. But I think part of the reason why a lot of people don't care is because, a lot of people are like, well, I have 25 years of gaming history that
Sure.
can't be tracked.
Sure.
So new data doesn't matter on top of the
Sure.
old data.
The idea of being able to log into like your Microsoft account and seeing everything you've done or played and or beat or accomplished all the way back to like GameCube. No, you can't do GameCube as an online. Wii
360 days.
360. Yeah, it sounds cool.
Yeah.
It's just not. It's such a niche thing.
Do we know how?
Well, I thought this was because they're going to introduce their streaming service.
It's not confirmed. It's just a rumor.
Well, it's going to happen. They've said they're starting it in 2019.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
It's probably going to be the news at E3. But
yeah, but it's hard because like they haven't said. I don't know. You have the earphones, but I've mentioned that Microsoft has talked about starting a streaming service in 2019. My side of it on that, of course, yes. If that's something that they're doing, then that's another reason to get it on more devices.
it's just a preemptive step.
Right.
What do you mean if? We're in an internet culture where we assume everything. They're fucking doing it.
However,
The state of the technology.
It was a joke. It was
however,
a jo-
that's just not how
it
they're
was-
leading it.
It
and
was more of a joke about the whole assumption shit that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, and I also, at the same time, like when you talk about this as a service, up until the point where streaming is a more widespread thing, I don't think that that's a useful thing for it right now.
Right.
I think
it seems like something that would come out after the fact.
I think in 5 or 10 years, when we have better internet across the board and streaming is more, it's our devices are more capable of doing it without lag and
I'm sorry.
all this other stuff. I think that's when that'll matter.
Are you Everett? Are you saying that streaming service, i.e., you've got all this shit linked? So you have this app on your Switch, and you want to play Call of Duty streaming from your Microsoft account on your Switch. Is that kind of what we're saying here?
Yeah.
Oh,
The
okay.
idea is like you can stream whatever Microsoft games from either your phone, your tablet.
Sure.
or in this
Okay.
case,
Okay. I
the
understand.
Switch,
I understand what you're
probably-
saying.
Probably more so
See now.
Minecraft
See
than
now.
Anything else.
That sounds better to me. That future sounds a lot, but that future of where I can take my Switch on a plane ride or on tour, and I can log into, I don't have an Xbox, but I have a PC, and I can log into my Windows Store and possibly play State of Decay or play something on Xbox. You know what I mean? That sounds great.
Something that makes me curious about that, though, because I had this thought yesterday, because Ev had texted us about this, and I did some reading about it afterwards. The thing that makes me curious about that, though, is I have a hard time believing that Nintendo or iOS or Android, maybe not Android, but iOS and Nintendo specifically, we're getting to a point where there is a future where we can play games on our phone and tablets in a way that we can play them on our Switch and everything else. If I'm Nintendo and I have a third-party game launching on Xbox and on my Switch, I have a hard time believing that I would allow Microsoft to have their gamers be able to buy one copy of that game and just stream it onto my thing.
Sure, I agree.
Unless Microsoft and Nintendo merge.
Maybe that could happen. And you know, I think the rumors are that this
That's not
that
gonna
the streaming service is going to be connected
just heard
to the service they launched, the Games Case. What's it called? No, I'm sorry. The service they launched last year where you pay monthly and you get access to
Games Pass?
Games Pass, yeah. That it's going to be linked to Games Pass, so maybe things in the Game Pass library are going to be there. But for me as Nintendo, I would have a really hard time being like, oh, you bought one copy of Call of Duty on your Xbox. Now you're not going to buy it on your Switch, and you're just using your Switch as a streaming
Call of Duty on
device.
Switch.
And it's just
That brings up the thing is like, what is on Switch and Xbox? I think they're getting away from. Sure, Minecraft.
Madden, the FIFA games.
Yeah, but
come out on
they're
both.
completely different. Completely different games.
I don't know in every case they are.
They're
And in a lot of cases, they
Yeah,
are.
I
Like
know-
WWE on the Switch
Oh,
is way
God,
different
it's
than
fucking
WWE
terrible.
on PS4 and
Right,
Xbox One. But
I don't know.
I don't know.
I like the idea. I like the idea of being able to log on my Switch and play an Xbox Games Pass game. That sounds
Yeah.
great. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
I'll be interested to see whenever the streaming stuff gets bigger, like how everyone responds to it.
Yeah. I still just don't fully understand why. What would that do for Nintendo? Like, what is this? How is that helping them?
Gets people to buy Switches.
And then that's true.
If I like,
As like a mobile
yeah,
Xbox
as a
almost.
mobile Xbox. Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Also
I guess I
means-
could see that.
Microsoft doesn't have to develop handheld.
Handheld. Yep.
Shit, it might get to the point where Switch doesn't have to. Their online service can run somewhat off of
See
Xbox
now,
Live.
I don't see it. Maybe not a merger, but like the Activision Blizzard thing,
yeah.
where I think that's more of a merger, but this is more of a
Microsoft,
Nintendo sex party.
All this stuff though in recent years about Microsoft, it makes me wonder if we're gonna get to a point where Microsoft is not is not making consoles, because at this point
I don't want that future personally.
I mean I don't either, but at this point, like, why, if you own a PC or a Switch or a phone, what's the point in having an Xbox?
Because it's cheaper.
which is cheaper?
That's the biggest point. Is
It's not
because
cheaper than a Switch.
No, but like you said, you're not going to be able to play they're not going to let that happen.
Yeah, but
That just can't happen.
but specifically looking at like
So you
like
br-
the PC, right?
it's cheaper to buy an Xbox.
Sure, but like as a PC gamer, literally, I had the guy I work with, Jake. He on Friday dropped $500 on a PS4 Pro just to play Kingdom Hearts. Just to play Kingdom Hearts. There is no reason to do that if you own a PC. He is a PC gamer. Does not own a console. He dropped $500.
Yeah, Kingdom Hearts isn't on PC.
It's not on PC. So he
Right,
dropped
he has
$500 for... exactly, that's my point. With an Xbox, it's like, what does the Xbox offer as a thing if you are a consumer of another device
Oh, wait, I'm
that
sorry.
would encourage you to buy an Xbox?
He doesn't own a PC.
He does own a PC.
He does own a PC, but he owns an Xbox.
He does not own a console.
Oh, why did he buy a PS4 Pro? Why didn't he just buy a regular PS4 for $200 and buy Kingdom Hearts?
Well, I think part of that is him being a PC
I was
gamer
gonna-
and wanting
well,
high
that's
like
his-
wanting
you know.
the more advanced thing.
Sure.
But,
in that instance, it's his own damn fault for spending too much money.
well, but like when
I get what you're saying.
when I was talking to his girlfriend about it, and she was like, yeah, when he was at the store, he was looking at the Xbox One X or the PS4 Pro, and I had asked him like, well, why don't you just get an Xbox? And he was like, I can play all my Xbox games on my PC. Like, at least if I buy a PS4, I can go play the PS4 games. And none of that is to say that Microsoft is making a bad business decision, because they're probably making the more healthy long-term decision.
Sure.
But it means that, like, for me, I just don't see why in 10 or 15 years, if you can play an Xbox game on any device, why should Microsoft continue to make hardware that's not selling?
Yeah, to an extent, but again, it's cheaper. That's the biggest thing is an Xbox. An Xbox is just cheaper. It's cheaper than buying a 2080 Ti for $1,300 right now. Because their games don't even use that graphics card right now. Games are still trying to catch up with the 1080 Ti, and so like even buying a 1080 Ti, you're looking at $700 to $800 right now for a 1080 Ti. That's not including the price of the PC. So you're already looking at maybe $1,200 for an entire PC. Or you just go buy an Xbox One X for $400 and you get just as good as graphics and you get every game that you can possibly play.
You're 100% right, but at this point in the Xbox One's life cycle, it's not a matter of either or. It's a matter of I own A, why should I own B? I own a PC. Why should I own an Xbox? As a PC gamer, there is still a reason to buy a PS4.
But also PC gaming, this could be a false statement, but I don't think it is. The PC gaming, the amount of people that PC game to the amount of people that own an Xbox is vastly different. Like the PC gamers that own the PC because they want to use a PC to play games is vastly smaller than the people who own an Xbox.
I don't know.
The PC not own a PC. Own a PC
that they game on.
Because that is a $1,200 barrier of entry right there, man. Compared to, and that's the thing is like there's 50.
So we're talking about the U.S., right?
Sure.
Then yes, I would agree. I think worldwide,
yeah, because
more people. Yeah,
sure, yeah.
We're talking about other markets,
sure,
and which is such a cheap thing to say, but it matters because that's like
to an extent.
That's what you're looking at with the Xbox. Because if you look at the Xbox as if you're looking at the Xbox One as a U.S. based console, and you're looking at it compared to the U.S. market, of course it's a success.
But
part of
let's just take the normal GameStop customer.
But part of the PlayStation's benefit, part of the reason why it outsells Xbox to such a high degree is A, it's not on literally every platform, and B, it just has a better attach rate worldwide. Sure. And so I think when you're looking at the late Xbox life cycle and the late PlayStation life cycle, the thing that you have to consider anytime that you're putting consoles on shelves are the people. You're not selling to an audience of people anymore that don't own anything. So you've lost that advantage. You're selling a console to people that already own something else that they're gaming on, whether it's a PC or PS4 or Switch.
I think literally the only way I can. This is the amount of research is I don't know if NVIDIA ever talks about how many graphics cards they sell. Mm-hmm. That's the only way to in my head to test this. Like how many 1080 Ti's have been sold compared to the amount of Xboxes?
I'm pretty sure I saw a number last year that worldwide PC gamers outnumber every console gamer.
Also,
so sorry, just doing a quick Google search. This is a Variety article. It says, and this was posted September 11, 2018.
Okay.
In the study that they did, it says personal computers were the second most popular gaming platform, with 52% of gamers playing on a laptop or desktop PC.
The second
Consoles,
to phones?
the third most.
Probably.
With this says with 43% held up by Oh no, consoles is 43% and handhelds was 9%.
Here's my issue with that number, is that the games that are being played on those PCs are probably not Witcher or Anthem or these AAA games that are, on console. Those games, while granted, all of them probably have Steam, and Steam, what are they called? Accounts, and they download Steam games and they buy Steam the humble bundles, and they buy Steam games when the winter sale comes around. But the games they're buying aren't Anthem, and they're not AAA developed games that's why you buy a console.
I think that's true too. I think you're right too. I think that's. First of all, pirating is a huge thing in the PC market.
Sure,
a lot of people don't pay for their games,
and so
second of all, a lot of people are budget gamers.
Yeah,
on PC.
and so that kind of like, yes, I will concede most people are gaming on their PC. Let's sans phones because it's phones.
I don't think phones count.
Most people gaming are gaming on PC, but they're not playing Anthem or The Witcher or Apex Legends, games that require that huge amount of that huge money gap for that barrier of entry. They're not playing those games. They're playing games that their little like Whitney's laptop can play, right?
Well,
they're playing those, and Whitney has that PC, so she is part of that, and she's in that 52% because she plays WoW, but that PC can run WoW. She does not play Kingdom Hearts. Let's say Kingdom Hearts is on PC. She could not play Kingdom Hearts on PC, and she would never go past that barrier of entry to get a PC to play Kingdom Hearts because consoles are cheaper.
Well, but I think that going back to my original point, I think that's why I can see a future where Xboxes don't exist anymore, unless it's a PC that's called an Xbox. Because because essentially what we're looking at here is that at this point it's no longer a software argument; it's a hardware argument.
Sure.
If someone already owns something else, why would I buy an Xbox if I can just do that if I can do everything the Xbox can do on my PC?
If you already own it, yes. If you already own it.
So if you're going to buy a console, you're going to do what my friend did and buy the PS4.
Yes, if you already own it.
If you already own it. If you already own a hardware device, you're going to
that can run these games. Yes.
You're not going to buy an Xbox because your Xbox doesn't offer a new experience.
100% agree.
So for me as Microsoft, I would be looking at taking my foot out of the hardware industry.
Sure.
If I can just get my service, if I can get Games Pass and Xbox Live on every device that plays a game,
then
there is no reason for me to make hardware.
You better
anymore.
start selling PCs at a lower price then.
Or you just can...
Or the Streambox, or whatever the fuck that's going to be.
Or you hope for a more powerful Switch, or a Sony that's going to let you put an Xbox Live thing on
something
their
like
fucking
that.
console.
But you got to cut that cost barrier down, because the thing is we all have those $1,200 PCs, but Joe Schmo that goes to GameStop every year to buy Call of Duty and Battlefield, he does not.
Well, and even then, I'm it's a really weird place that Microsoft is in, and for them, sorry. Unless Sony really shits the bed next generation, I don't think Microsoft is going to recover on a hardware front. I just don't. I think as long as they're putting all their shit on PC,
unless, and this is just because I'm willing to buy it, is what Everett's saying. If Microsoft comes up with a streaming device that is streaming only, I will buy that.
Man, even then,
and it has like the Xbox streaming, whatever that is. I will invest in an Xbox again.
But is that even considered like a console, really, at that point?
Sure it is. But my point being is that.
A PC.
But my point being is to talk about what Trey's talking about is the whole Microsoft may not be if they just come out with an Xbox.
But
here's your Xbox 2. They're not gonna succeed. But if they come up with that streaming.
But it's really interesting for you as a gamer though, because I know that your PC is getting to the point where maybe you need to upgrade a few parts.
There's no way I could run Anthem on Ultra.
But let's just say for work or whatever else, you decide I'm going to go ahead and upgrade my PC, right?
Sure.
The Xbox Scarlet comes out. It's a streaming device, but you can buy all the games on your PC. In fact, at this rate, you can just stream the games from your PC.
Sure, it's all about the price point.
But do you think? Let's say it's even $300. Your PC can do everything that box can do, and you're going to buy a PlayStation. Are you going to buy an Xbox Scarlet? Realistically.
Yes, because I can sit on my ass on my couch and play.
That
is literally the biggest thing. That's why I'm such a proponent for console gaming, is because it's so easy.
Man,
It's so much easier. And that's, dude, when was the last time you saw me play my PC that wasn't an MMO?
I mean, but I've also seen you have this argument for the past 4 years, ever since I known you,
of course,
about wanting to buy an Xbox,
Sure.
and they're only getting cheaper, and you still haven't bought one. It's not offering you
I haven't
anything.
bought an Xbox because it hasn't offered me something that I don't already have. But again, like you said, I'm getting to that point now where I can't play a lot of these games that are out on Xbox on my PC because the card is getting a little old. It's like a 980 or something like that. So it's getting to the point where I can't play these games as smooth as I can on PS4 or whatnot. And let's say next year it comes out and that streaming device comes out, it always comes back to how easy is it for me to play this game? How can I just put it in and play and just go? Because that's how I will always go. Unless it's like, of course there's exceptions. There's Fallout, there's Elder Scrolls where you can highly mod, and it takes a shit ton of work to get them to work if you start doing that. But those are exceptions. Most of the time, if I had to choose, do I play on my PC where I have to sit there for 30 minutes and work with graphic settings and update my fucking graphics cards and deal with new drivers, blah, 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 or can I just stick it in a console and play it on my TV, sit on my comfortable chair on my ass, controller in hand, and play that way? I will always choose that console.
That's the thing about that streaming device, though, is I don't know that it's going to offer you that experience right away.
Maybe it won't. I don't know.
Because you live in a house right now with 2 other people.
Sure.
At any given time, when the 3 of us are in a house, we are all on a device, which that will affect your gaming right now.
Sure.
Because even with our internet's great.
Yep.
Even with our internet, like we've had problems playing Destiny in the same house.
Sure.
3 of us have been on Destiny.
Sure.
It's been like, why is it taking so long to load?
Yep. Well, that's because it's Destiny on PS4. Anyway, they're yes. Anyway,
I don't know. I don't. But I also, of course, you always want Microsoft to be making consoles, but I don't think the worst possible future.
I'll always be a proponent of there should be there should be three console makers at all point in time because it makes each one of them do better.
Yep.
So,
Ubisoft has publicly apologized for a Division 2 private beta email some players consider to be offensive. According to Eurogamer, Ubisoft sent out a promotional email with a subject line which read, quote, "Come see what a real government shutdown looks like in the private beta."
That's
end
good
quote.
shit.
Within the hour, Ubisoft sent out an email apology, quote, "A marketing email promoting Tom Clancy's The Division 2 was sent in error today. This was a grave breakdown in process, and we apologize for the error and the offensive subject line of the email. We recognize that the very real impact of the United States government shutdown on thousands of people and did not intend to make light of the situation," end quote. I thought this was fucking funny when I saw it. I didn't even know people were mad about it. I just laughed and was like,
of course they're mad about it. What's the thing we can be mad about today, everybody?
And it's with Ubisoft again.
And it's Ubisoft. Anyway, I thought it was hilarious.
Now they've offended the liberals
and I think it's hilarious.
The conservatives.
And I'm an American. And I guess I'm a liberalist. I don't know. Like, I don't think so. I don't think I'm like.
I'm a classic.
I don't think I'm
liberalist.
a modern liberalist. I don't think I did.
No,
I'm a 1776
you're a libertarian.
Sure,
man.
that's I think libertarian's closest thing, and but
the Boston Tea Party.
I thought it was fucking hilarious.
don't
I got that email and I laughed hard, man.
I
Well-
think it's kind of funny.
Oh god, I thought it was fucking hilarious.
It's obviously tongue in cheek. I mean, what?
Of course, it's tongue in cheek.
Continuing with internet outrage.
Here we go.
Over the weekend, a developer at 4A Games, the studio behind Metro Exodus, threatened that if players boycotted or refused to buy Exodus through the Epic Game Store, future titles would not be developed for PC. The statement caused an uproar across the internet, causing publisher Deep Silver to issue a statement in response. In the statement, the publisher acknowledged that the move to Epic Store exclusivity was due to Epic, quote, "investing in the future of the series and our development partner at 4A Games, ellipses. We have every intention of continuing this franchise and a PC version will always be at the heart of our plans," end quote. The publisher also clarified that it, not 4A Games, made the call to move Exodus to Epic service and that quote, "Comments made by a member of the 4A Games development team do not reflect Deep Silver or 4A Games' view on the future of the franchise," end quote. However, Deep Silver's statement acknowledged that those comments do, quote, "reflect the hurt and disappointment of a passionate individual who has seen what was previously nothing but positive goodwill towards his work turn to controversy due to a business decision he had no control over," end quote. The statement concluded by asking fans to direct feedback about the deal to Deep Silver and parent company Koch Media.
A guy said "fuck you" and got in trouble. Yeah.
Here's my thing.
In a way,
the part about that statement that was, this game was receiving nothing but good praise, and now suddenly it's marred by controversy for a decision that the developer did not make. That is the exact situation.
Sure. Have you checked its Steam review score?
I mean,
It plummeted because of this.
and
That's ridiculous.
I think this goes back to what we talked about at the beginning. I don't understand why it matters. I don't understand why this is something to get mad over. I don't want to buy a game on the Epic Store. Don't buy the game.
Then don't buy it.
No one.
But I really love Exodus. Then buy it.
Yeah, then buy it. But Epic doesn't offer all the same things as Steam. So what? Like, at this point, it's just Metro games have never sold well.
Nope.
They've never sold well. Like
The
Epic
PS4
and
one. Did we decide the PS1 sold okay?
no,
Did it
they've
not?
sold
The
they've sold
remake on
fine.
PS4, yeah, I guess
They've
they
sold fine, but they haven't sold great.
Can someone fill me in on what do people not like about the
So-
Epic Store?
So it just,
It's not Steam.
I mean, that's part of the issue.
Okay, yeah, I get
Part
that.
of the issue, going back to like having things consistent. A lot of people like having a consistent library on Steam and don't like using other launchers. That whatever.
Okay.
The second problem is that really Epic, because it's a new service, doesn't offer a lot of the same things as other services do. They don't offer family sharing. They don't offer account sharing. They don't have a marketplace where you can sell digital items, which is important to people on Steam. It doesn't have a community part where people can review the games and post feedback and guides and stuff directly on the store page. It just really is a stripped down store. Compared
It's
to
basically
Steam.
just a regular launcher.
Yeah, basically.
It's Blizzard's launcher. That's all it is. It's
Yeah.
just a launcher.
Yeah, but did people have these complaints about like a Blizzard game or something, to where it's like you
Yes.
really
Yes.
I mean, it's a
But that's something they accept
right?
because it's just something that is. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I think I had seen something that Activision, Ubisoft, and Epic all saw significant sales dips whenever they took their items off of
Off
Steam.
of it. Yeah,
they
sure.
moved it to
I
a new
could
launcher.
totally see that. Probably because like a lot of people that just use Steam, again, that percentage of gamers that have games on Steam that are gamers but don't play AAA games, logged onto Steam wanting to buy Assassin's Creed and it wasn't there. They don't know Epic exists because they're not gamers, right? They are gamers, but they're not us. You know what I mean?
What?
They don't understand that, oh, there's a new store where all these games are. They don't know that.
Right.
So yeah, of course they're going to see a dip.
And I-
Sorry, to answer your question earlier, yeah, like, would I rather have WoW and Star Wars: The Old Republic and ESO? Well, ESO does launch from Steam, but would I rather have all these MMOs launch through Steam? Yeah, because then like it tracks shit, it has hours played and all that. Sure, it'd be cool, but I accept that that's not how it works.
And the sort of second part of this problem is that there are a lot of people that sell games online, but they offer the option to redeem your key in Steam.
Yeah.
With Exodus, that is not a thing you can do at all. Like, even if you buy the physical copy of the game, you're given a code to the Epic Store.
Yeah.
So people are mad about that. But again, like, Valve doesn't have to invest in anything because Valve knows that if you put something on their store, you are benefiting the developer more than you are benefiting Valve. So Valve doesn't have to make a deal where they give Metro Exodus and 4A money to invest in its long-term future and the future of the developer. They just go, put your thing on my store. Oh, you don't want to? Fuck you. Your game's not going to sell. So Epic comes along and they're willing to do this shit. They're doing this across the board, and yeah, Epic's thing kind of sucks, whatever. But they're investing in games. They are investing in people and developers. And they're benefiting the gaming market by encouraging people to be put on their store.
Could be a good thing.
And all gamers see is that, oh, they're not doing what I want. That sucks.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. It's like, oh,
Yeah, sure, yeah.
it's like you can't give me what I want.
Sure.
So
The
I'm
outrage
upset.
from the developer is just like the thing is, it really sucks. Exodus, Metro Exodus or Exodus Metro, whatever the fuck that
Metro
was.
Exodus.
Yeah, had like a fucking amazing score on Steam because those games are good. People who play them really fucking enjoy them. As soon as it was moved and it was announced that that was going to be on the Epic Store, the Steam review just plummeted, it's dumb.
And I'm
it's
sure
just dumb.
I'm sure for a developer that would be
It
very
sucks.
frustrating.
Well,
Yeah.
and one caveat to all this is the reason why it's still on the Steam store is if you pre-ordered the game through Steam, you're still going to get a Steam code.
Yeah.
but if someone wanted to purchase it
You can't.
now,
You can't.
through the
Right,
Steam store,
exactly.
you can't.
Yeah.
And that sucks because, a lot, again, people who aren't us, the gamers who aren't us, go to Steam and they scroll through those quick reviews and all they see is a bunch of thumbs downs, they're not going to buy the game. Yep. What they don't, because I guarantee you, if Whitney had a Steam account and she was looking to buy what games, she would just go through and just see a bunch of thumb down, thumb down, thumb down. She wouldn't go in there and read possibly what it says. Just saying, it's just an example.
Yeah.
But that's the issue.
Does Steam not have like verified purchase reviews? I don't look at reviews too many times.
No, you can just leave a review on Steam whenever the fuck you want.
That's stupid.
It's extremely stupid.
I thought I thought people have figured that out by now.
But for the most part, Steam reviews have been they're honorable. Like you're not going to leave a review on Steam unless you really mean to criticize the game in a meaningful way.
I guess, but anytime I've seen reviews, it means more to me if it's like on Amazon. Amazon will tell you this person purchased this item. So their opinion is valid.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, to leave a review, you have to have the game in your library.
Oh, okay. So then, how are all these people leaving bad reviews?
Because they have the game in their library, and they're mad that they've pre-ordered and it's going to Epic and all this. They're just. Well, it's the same reason they're mad about fucking Anthem and all this other shit.
Real quick though, let's talk about Steam reviews that apparently are so important to everyone. Steam reviews are kind of shit because it's a way that the community holds developers hostage when they're pissed. Like, this happens all the time where a developer will launch a new update. The audience won't like it, and so everyone will go for a game that's still mostly good.
It's true.
And bomb their review score.
You know where you don't have that problem? Consoles.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's because the storefronts barely work on consoles.
It's also very true. They
I don't think
they go to Reddit.
I've never purchased a game through my fucking console. I always do it on my phone. Last up on our main news segment, Square Enix has posted its financial results for the first 9 months of the current fiscal year, alongside the latest quarter. The company as a whole and the digital entertainment business, which includes games, posted lower results across the board for both sales and income in the 9 months between April and December. However, during the latest quarter, sales increased year on year, but income decreased considerably. Square Enix explained in the accompanying press release that those higher sales were due to recent launches of console games like Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Just Cause 4, and Octopath Traveler, but those failed to cause an equivalent increase in profits, quote, due to greater... Actually,
what the fuck does amortization mean?
I don't know. I don't know what that means. Someone look it up. Amortization of development costs for major new titles and increased advertising expenses, end quote. Square Enix plans on addressing this issue by rebuilding the, quote, development and operation organizations and striving to create new hit titles, end quote.
Amortization.
Good job.
The action or process of gradually writing off the initial cost of an asset.
Okay.
So basically, however much money you spent up front on something versus getting it back over time.
The SparkNotes version of that news story is Square Enix is spending too much money on development costs and not making enough profit on marketing, and not making enough money off of actual game sales.
That's because they come out with a game a year.
That's also because
or they spend 12 years on
or their biggest games only come out.
Or they insist on being at like most of these big press conference things and they show the same trailer.
They don't show anything.
You were about to make a point, but it's their big titles only come out like every 5 years or so. Yep. But also, two of their biggest franchises are developed by the same dude, and it takes 15 years to put out a game. Like, look at the three biggest games that Square Enix had in its lineup over the last decade are Final Fantasy 15, Kingdom Hearts 3, Final Fantasy 7 Remake.
Sure.
That's what they have going. Those are their biggest games at the moment.
Sure.
Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Just Cause, Deus Ex, when they used to publish that, none of those things have the same sort of cultural impact that Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts do. And the guy that's leading those games, a very talented creator, very good at what he does.
But he stretched super thin.
Which means that you're spending 15 years of development costs on a game. It's the same thing with Shadow of the Colossus guys and the Last Guardian. Yep. How do you make money on a game that's been in development for 15 years?
Well, Kingdom Hearts has shipped 5 million copies, so that's a good start.
Sure.
Have nostalgia and all that going for you.
It's it's a pickle they've gotten themselves into, and I don't think it's one of those things like it's a pickle they got themselves into, and of course they didn't mean to, but in this instance they really didn't mean it. You know what I mean? It's one of those things that was like, shit, we really want these games to be great, and when they come out, they are. Final Fantasy 15 is fucking amazing. Kingdom Hearts 3 is fucking amazing.
Well,
Final Fantasy 7 Remake is probably going to be fucking amazing.
So
but their filler games, they're only like million copy sellers.
So
Who bought Shadow of the Tomb Raider?
I know.
Did you play the Tomb Raider series?
I bought the last Tomb Raider game I bought was the second one.
So you bought one, but you didn't buy Shadow. Why?
Because I didn't finish 2. Also because Shadow isn't by Crystal Dynamics. It's by some other studio.
Yeah, it starts with an O. It's on the tip of my whatever. But yeah, they're not.
Well, it's like so. One of the things that I know, absolutely no spoilers, but I know the secret ending to Kingdom Hearts 3 because I looked it up. Because I don't care, and why not? So I looked it up to see like what it was about, and I don't see how they're ever going to deliver on it. I just don't. Because in order for them to deliver on it, Tetsuya Nomura needs to be in charge, and he takes way too long to develop games.
Sure.
And really,
just don't have so many cutscenes, and you'll be fine.
That's true. Yeah.
Literally cut the cutscenes in half, and that game would have come out 6 years ago.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's exciting. The idea is exciting, but I just don't know what they're gonna do.
Sure. Yeah, and that's the thing, right? I don't know what creators they have at Square Enix, but I don't think the Tomb Raider games are great. I would much rather play Uncharted, and I
think they're so much better than Uncharted.
And I don't like Uncharted.
They're better for Uncharted for the reason why Uncharted is bad.
Oh, we'll see. But that's the thing is but they don't seem as interesting to me. Side note. Anyway, me personally,
they don't have the Naughty Dog flair.
Sure,
but from a gameplay perspective,
whatever that
good.
is. I would rather play Uncharted over Tomb Raider. I could care less about Just Cause 4 because Grand Theft Auto exists. You know what I mean? I don't need to fucking parachute in a fire tornado. It just doesn't seem like.
It's a little gimmicky. It's a fuck around game.
And Octopath, that's on Switch, but I
want to play Octopath.
Yeah,
but,
here's the thing. You know what Square Enix made their reputation on? JRPGs. PlayStation 2 era. Man, I played those. Every other game I played in the PlayStation 2 era was a fucking JRPG from Square Enix. Mm-hmm. Radiata Stories, Star Ocean, Chrono Trigger. Well, that's PlayStation 1. But yeah,
what was it? Chrono Cross.
Chrono Cross. Yeah, that was also PlayStation 1.
Was it?
Yeah, Chrono Trigger was Super Nintendo.
Yeah,
Chrono Cross was PlayStation 1. But that's what I mean. Every other game I played in that era was a JRPG, and most of the time, I'd say 80% of the time, it was a Square Enix game. The issue is also on other consoles. Final Fantasy Tactics on Game Boy Advance, Final Fantasy Tactics A2, any of the Final Fantasy remakes that they put out on Nintendo DS.
I played friggin' Final Fantasy 6 or 5 on my Game Boy Advance, and it was a great experience.
All fucking amazing, and they probably sold quite a good amount of units of all those. Mm-hmm. The problem is that they don't do that anymore. They don't have, and when they do come out with a JRPG, it's a half-baked, Star Ocean trying to capitalize on what Star Ocean 3 was.
Because they put their muscle behind Tetsuya Nomura, and he's a perfectionist.
Right.
And that's great.
And it is good because when those games come out, they're amazing. But what happened to Radiata Stories and what happened to those games probably only took 3-4 years to develop. Why aren't you developing those?
Because they probably pulled all the good people from their teams and had them working on 15-7 remake and
possibly. Yeah, possibly. I don't know, but that's the thing is I now that we bring this up, man, there's not most JRPGs that come out aren't great because they're not Square Enix. NIS America makes some good ones. Bandai Namco makes good ones. They make the Tales series. They make great ones. But Square Enix doesn't. I don't see JRPGs coming at them very often
that's
anymore,
because
which is weird.
I think JRPGs have been too AAA-ified.
Okay.
Look at Persona 5, right?
Sure.
Persona 5 is
so good.
It's so good. It has an awesome battle system. Yep. It has an amazing art style, but the way that game plays is very much like traditional JRPGs, and it really embraces that culture of gameplay, which means that they can do really creative things and have this awesome art style.
Sure.
But look at Final Fantasy 15.
It's very American. It's very Western almost.
It's very Western. There's way too much shit to do in the outworld that doesn't matter.
Yep.
And the combat system is just not great because it's not a great JRPG combat system.
Sure.
Persona 5 uses that traditional turn-based strategy thing, but with the way that they've sort of had the interruption moves and parries and reactions and all that, it makes it feel so much faster and like a modern game, but still true to its core, where I don't think Final Fantasy 15 was.
I really like to think that they're going to make a fairly good amount of money with all these Final Fantasy games going to Switch. Because I do plan on buying Final Fantasy 12 on Switch because that's one of my top 5 Final Fantasies. I've never got to play it again, and they did the remake on PS4 that I just didn't want to buy because it's like,
is 12 the one with the blonde guy, or is that 10?
10 is the one with Titus. 12 is also a blonde guy, but it's all pirates.
There's a couple
of
of
like airship pirates.
Cool. So I know 10, not 12.
Yeah. Anyway,
I like 10. 10 was cool.
Yeah, 10's great. 10's a fucking amazing game. We bought that. I bought the remake and played through it on fucking PS4. It's a fucking great game. Anyway.
Yeah.
I think a good strategy is for Square Enix to re-release a lot of old games remastered, and I feel like they'll make a fairly good amount of money.
I think you also need to start grooming a new generation of game leads.
Sure.
Like, let Tetsu Nomura work on Final Fantasy VII Remake, and if there's a new Kingdom Hearts game, that. But let's have someone else like do Final Fantasy 16.
Sure.
Because Tetsu Nomura is not going to live forever.
Sure.
And what happens if he just goes away tomorrow?
Sure. Well, he doesn't make all the Final Fantasies.
Yes, but doesn't he?
He only made 2.
I mean, he worked on 15, right?
He directed 15 and 7.
He's working on 7 Remake.
Well, yeah.
And he also is working on the Kingdom Hearts franchise.
Yes.
So at the moment, like, it's not like they're putting out other Final Fantasy
Sure,
games.
But my point being is, out of the 15 Final Fantasy games, he only did 2.
No, yes.
But to your point, I think putting out Final Fantasy games more frequently, like they did on the 360 era, we saw 3 Final Fantasy games come out. Mm-hmm. They were all in the same universe, and they were sequels to each other.
Also, like, the jump between 10 and 12 wasn't that big.
No, it wasn't. Well, 10 was on PS2.
Years. What was 12 on?
PS2.
And 10 was on PS2.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but wasn't it only like 5 years between the two?
Yeah, maybe something like that. We'd have to look that up. It wasn't long.
And there's a difference between a long life cycle, 5 years. That's fair. And a 12-year cycle between Kingdom Hearts 3 and Kingdom Hearts 2.
Sure.
5 is manageable. That's long, but it's manageable.
Sure.
And it's fair, and you got 2 great games.
Well, especially when you have other JRPGs coming out or other games coming out in between those 2 games.
And that was one of the exciting things about Octopath Traveler, I think, is that like that was and also Bravely Default.
Sure,
they do the Bravely Default games,
but
those games are like, they were like points to the future, like where there could be a world again where Square Enix is putting out these
you know what
JRPGs,
you know what they did, and they kicked themselves in the ass and put it only on Nintendo.
That's true.
That's another like,
that's fair.
Like they literally kicked themselves in the ass by doing that.
Also, I'm just gonna put this out here, Square Enix. This whole bullshit of you re-releasing The World Ends With You every other year and marking it up to $40 every time you re-release it.
It's only been re-released twice.
Bullshit.
Every year.
3 times coming up on Switch.
It came out on the DS, right?
The original DS.
I think it got re-released on iOS, and it's still really fucking expensive.
Is it really?
Uh-huh.
And now it's coming out
on iOS.
And now it's coming out on Switch.
Now it's coming out on Switch, but I think it came out on some. I think it might be on PS4.
No, it's not. I would have bought it on PS4.
No, you might not have, because it was 40 fucking bucks.
That was all. That's also a Tetsu Nomura game. World Ends With You.
I know, which is sad because that game deserves a sequel.
I agree. You know what's funny? Real quick before we keep moving, because I know this podcast is super long.
Yeah.
Tetsu Nomura, every game he's ever made has been pretty damn close to masterpiece-ish. World Ends With You, fucking amazing game. The Kingdom Hearts series, amazing. Final Fantasy VII.
You're right. It's only 2 re-releases.
Arguably the best Final Fantasy.
Okay.
Arguably.
Okay.
Final Fantasy 15, fucking phenomenal. And Super Mario RPG on Super Nintendo. That is one of the greatest Mario games ever fucking made, directed by Tetsu Nomura.
I kind of forgot about that game.
Yep. So fucking good.
All right, guys. You ready for the rumor mill?
Sure. The rumor mill.
Yeah.
It's back.
It's back. A new patent filed by Sony suggests that the next PlayStation can include backwards compatibility for previous PlayStation consoles.
All previous PlayStation consoles?
All previous ones. The patent, which can be found on JPlat with further information on Hakano.
Wait, what is it called?
JPlat.
J. Platt Pat. Got
Yeah,
it.
I said plat the first time, to be
got
fair. With the publication number of whatever, it was filed on January 20th, 2017 and published on January 31st, 2019 by Sony Interactive Entertainment. Investors listed include PS4, I'm going to skip all that. The patent details a process that could run software from legacy devices perfectly on a new device, and notes that components like a CPU may be faster in new devices, but the architecture might not match closely enough with the previous hardware CPUs in order to play the older software. So, to trick the legacy software to work with the new hardware, it mimics legacy devices. Diagrams included with the patents also suggest that the system, quote, spoofs, end quote, processor IDs to facilitate this.
We talked about this a long time ago,
Yeah.
and how somebody at Sony had said they think they found a way to trick newer consoles into playing old games.
You just have a processor that can
Yeah,
slow down,
basically.
a CPU that can slow down to match old CPUs.
Exactly, and because that's the whole reason why we don't have that in the first place is because the I've said this before. You can go back and listen. It's probably not on the remaster.
feed, yeah.
The remaster of Twin Stick Radio, but our old episodes, I've said it multiple times before. New generation of consoles are just too smart to play old games. That's the reason it doesn't work.
But they're too smart, which means they should be able to play dumb to convince the dumb
Sure,
software.
if we tell them
They
to
can
play,
outsmart them.
if we tell them to play dumb 100%,
Yeah.
I really hope this is a thing. I would
See,
really,
but if
I
this
don't think.
happens, what happens to all the PS1 classics that are all over the shelves?
I mean, they'll probably. Oh, you mean like actual like physical games?
You mean
or-
Oh
the
no,
thing-
I
the
just
things
meant
that-
like the
No, he means the PS1
the
classic.
re-released like classic
The
consoles.
things that aren't that
Man.
literally aren't selling.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
you
see.
know.
You're still talking about because the fucking PS1 Classics is also what it's called in the Sony store
Yep,
when
it
you
is.
go and buy
Yep,
a PS1 game. That's what I was confused.
I can see how that would be confusing.
I would
yeah.
like that because I don't have all my old PS1, PS2 games. I've got the ones that matter to me, and
That's impressive.
I would also never. I may get like if there's nothing to play, every once in a while you go back and you play something. I could get the itch to go play maybe an old PS2 game, but this is just one of those things. Is like, oh, I have the capability. Cool. I'm never going to use it, but thanks.
Right.
Yep.
Like
You know
I
what I
don't.
mean?
I don't think I ever used backwards compatibility on Xbox.
Why
To be
would
fair,
you?
I'm kind of a shit person though because like in most cases I would rather play the remaster. Like if my
Sure.
PlayStation could play Kingdom Hearts from the PS2 disc, or I could just buy the Kingdom Hearts remaster set, I would much
Of course.
rather do that.
Well, it's like if let's say BioWare remaster Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3.
Oh, I would 100% play the remaster.
Yeah,
and
why
never
would
touch
you
the
ever?
original
Yeah,
ones again.
exactly. I don't care about nostalgia.
Yeah.
I just don't. I
Also-
want Shepard's head to shine more than it did before.
And I think BioWare is the only company that's ever like proven to me like when they unless it's like a game that's timeless like Super Mario World, but with most 3D games anytime I go back to try to play an old 3D game, it's like, oh, this is not good like I remembered it.
Sure.
There's
And
a reason.
mostly
There's
the
a
graphics
reason we
affect
moved
that.
beyond past this. You know.
Next up on the rumor mill and last on the rumor mill, a new report suggests that a smaller version of Nintendo Switch will be released in 2019, which will cost less but remove features to focus on portability as a result. The report comes from some website and says this move comes after Nintendo lowered its sales targets for the year from 20 million Switch units to 17 million and is looking to launch this portable version early in order to expand its user base. This website claims that Nintendo has told multiple suppliers and developers about the plans to release a smaller Switch. The rumor states that this version of the Switch will be made with playing outdoors in mind. The website also suggests, or also notes that Nintendo plans to launch a more expensive online service in 2019. Nintendo Everything reports that this will be aimed at game enthusiasts that are willing to pay more for a higher tier service. If this is the case, the current Nintendo Switch online service will likely remain in place alongside it. Interesting thing about this new Switch SKU, though, is that
It's a
rumors.
DS, just without a second screen.
Rumors suggest that it's going to be smaller, that it's going to have a better CPU to fix load times and frame rates, but it won't ship with a dock.
It won't ship with a dock, but it can still. Will there be a dock? Or?
Can
There
you
was
put it into the existing dock?
none of the rumors have said anything about that.
Gotcha. Because whenever they had talked about getting rid of some of features, that seemed like the more obvious one of like it's just a handheld.
I think, in my mind, I would guess that they would probably take away dock support altogether, because if you're
Especially if they're saying how it's targeted with quote playing outside.
well, and also if you're putting in a better processor into your handheld,
into your device, but it still has dock support, which from what I understand is fairly complicated hardware, then you ultimately are making a more expensive console and selling it for cheaper.
What?
So I feel like that could be one of the conceits, is stripping out the hardware that allows you to stream on the TV, but also allows you to patch in a new processor.
Can you not play the Switch outside now?
Well, you can, but one, you have to be connected to Wi-Fi if you're playing anything online.
Well, that problem's not going to go away. Though.
Who
Well, no,
plays Nintendo games online?
Oh, shit! A lot of
Splatoon?
people. Splatoon, Fortnite,
Smash,
Minecraft,
Fortnite.
Smash.
Fortnite.
Really, anytime Fortnite comes up in a Switch conversation, it ruins whatever counter argument you were making to the Switch.
But I was pointing out outside being like, you're not connecting it to a TV, you know?
Yeah, but why do we need this?
A cheaper Switch to
It just
eventually phase out the DS,
Yeah, it just sounds
like I
like
said.
a Game Boy.
I still think that's
Which
what
is
they want.
Fine, I guess. I just don't understand why they need it. That's all.
You have
And
your
it would-
you have your
it-
handheld edition, and you have
Yeah,
your
and it-
deluxe home edition for Switch.
Yeah, and you know, it's the idea of. I know it's not the same because it's not necessarily improving it, but it's the idea of iterative hardware. You know what I mean? The Switch is only 3 years old now.
2 years.
2 years old, and we've already adopted into the Switch family. So another one's coming out, and it seems like it could run the games better, and that's not okay after 2 years. That sucks. That really, really sucks for us. Granted, maybe it doesn't have dock support. Right?
Also-
let's say it doesn't. Okay, that's a little less of a ball kicker.
I think that's
but if
kind-
it does have dock support and it plays better,
It's just
and
all
it
around better.
loads faster, it's all around better. What the fuck, man?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair.
Fucking sucks, dude.
I think that's fair.
And you know, whatever. I don't play the Switch a lot, and Whitney plays way more than I do. But it's just dumb.
Well,
It's the same thing I said when fucking Xbox One X and PS4 Pro were announced. It's just fucking dumb.
but to your point though, that might be another reason for stripping out dock support, because
Sure,
games
yes.
do run better in dock mode.
Sure.
So maybe without the dock, it's able to run comparable
Sure.
to how it would run in the dock
Sure.
mode.
And
Which
again,
in that case, that's not a huge deal.
yeah,
I
it's a
don't
little
think.
bit less of a, like I said, it's a little bit less of a blow, but you know,
At least it's not my thing, because there was rumors last year that it was going to have an improved screen.
yes,
that would have
that's-
pissed me
Oh
off.
man.
That would have made me really mad.
Yeah.
Because why not just have your premier product have the
Sure.
best screen possible? It's the thing with the Vita, right? Like the OLED Vita is a perfect device.
The first Vita.
The first Vita is a perfect device.
And then
They
it
didn't
just got worse.
well, I mean, but they got worse in hopes of capturing more of an audience.
Sure.
And that's how it should go. You release your next one, it doesn't have the OLED screen,
Sometimes I miss my Vita.
and it's a cheaper thing. I wish the Vita was still supported.
I do too. Sometimes I miss my Vita.
See, I could see this this new Switch though releasing alongside like Animal Crossing, or do like basically have something to where what's it called, street passing or whatever. But like whenever you go past someone,
I hate Street Pass.
like I could see that being a thing of like, oh, Animal Crossing, like you're playing outside, you walk past someone, you can visit their village, you can visit their town.
because I want Street Pass to come back.
I could see that kind of playing into this as well.
Yeah.
there is the side of gaming elitist in me is watching people have their DS out at conventions and just like making sure they're getting every Street Pass they possibly like. Oh god, I fucking hate Street Pass.
Love Street Pass.
It's coming back, man.
Fucking hate it.
I
Mark
will
my
say,
words.
I will say,
My new prediction.
That's my
I will
only
say
like
it
elitist
is annoying to
attitude.
see a room full of people on their 3DSs.
Dude, how many times did we go to PAX and there's just rooms of people all
yeah.
not communicating with each other at a convention,
But they're like, oh my gosh,
Just-
this guy,
yeah, they're just
look
all
at his house in
playing-
Animal Crossing.
all playing their DS in a circle? It's like you guys can talk to each other.
But I
you know
will
that,
say,
right?
nothing was more fun than like having my 3DS and like closing it and like putting it in that little slot that's in
Sure.
my car, and then driving and suddenly that green light goes off. I'm like, who the fuck did I just pass it as a 3DS?
But I just if there's too many improvements to this Switch, it's just fucking dumb to me.
Quick saves. Stop me if you're interested. Square Enix has reported that Kingdom Hearts 3 has officially shipped over 5 million units globally, making it the fastest selling game in the history of Kingdom Hearts.
Wow.
This number includes both physical and digital copies across all platforms since its launch on January 29th.
Good shit, man.
That is good shit. PlayStation Network generated over $12.5 billion of revenue in 2018, making Sony's network service a bigger earner than Microsoft's entire gaming division and all of Nintendo. Analysts noted PSN's $12.5 billion is, quote, higher than Nintendo's total revenue for 2018, end
Holy
quote.
shit.
Sony's network also beat out Microsoft's gaming division last year, which generated $11.5 billion, according to Ahmed. Ahmad.
Holy shit, dude.
I didn't quote that guy earlier, but that's the name of the analyst.
That's okay. Hey, good job. Dude, hold on.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Like, but that's not just like people playing for PlayStation Plus. That's also buying
it's people
games.
buying
Okay.
games.
Okay.
That's everything.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yep.
Crazy shit.
Warner Brothers announced Tuesday a Lego Marvel collection that will bundle together Lego Marvel Superheroes, Lego Marvel Superheroes 2, and Lego Marvel's Avengers for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Players will also get access to previously released DLC for all 3 titles, including Black Panther, and Marvel's Avengers Infinity War characters, and level packs for Lego Marvel Superheroes 2.
I might get this.
Black Planter.
I'm pretty
Planter.
sure you could like buy the complete editions all separately for a lower price.
Yeah, I
Like
don't know.
pre-owned.
Yeah, but DLCs and stuff, that's cool.
You're a Lego gamer. That's what you are.
No, he's
No.
a Marvel fan.
No, you're a Lego gamer.
I have no, well, aside from the Lego Star Wars games, I don't play Lego games
No, you're a Lego
except
gamer.
He doesn't
for
know he's a Lego
You
Marvel
don't have to play
superheroes.
Lego games to be a Lego gamer. You're a
does that
Lego
mean?
gamer.
What does that mean?
You are a gamer that buys into the fad of gaming. Because that's all Lego does. Lego makes games in the moment of the fad.
He's saying you're a basic bitch nerd.
That's what I'm hearing.
God, you're such a Lego gamer.
Michael Condrey, Sledgehammer Games co-founder and former Visceral Games COO, has been announced as the president of a new 2K games development studio in Silicon Valley. Condrey, who recently co-directed Call of Duty World War II and helped establish the Dead Space franchise, will build and lead a new development team to work on an unannounced project.
Dead Space Revival.
Uh,
I'm saying that for Everett.
Undead Outside of Earth.
What?
There you go.
What? Oh,
Yeah,
well, that's what Dead
they'll
Space
call
is.
it.
Dead Space
No,
3
that'll be the name of it
Remastered.
because they can't use Dead Space, so they'll
Oh,
call it
you're right, they
Undead
can't
Outside
use
of
Dead
Earth.
No, it's just gonna be Dead Space 3 Remastered. It's gonna look great. It's not
Uh,
gonna be great, but it'll look great.
Or Left 4 Dead 4.
Later this year, Nintendo is set to open Nintendo Tokyo, its first official store in Japan. Nintendo is hoping that Nintendo Tokyo will, quote, be a new point of contact between consumers and Nintendo that a wide range of people, regardless of age, gender, or experience with games, can enjoy, end quote. And last up...
Oh, okay, go ahead.
No, you go.
Why in Tokyo?
Because that's where Nintendo's based out of?
Where do you think Switch sold the most worldwide?
I don't think that Nintendo really cares.
But my point is they should.
It's for the Olympics.
My point is a 100. Wait, is the Olympics in Tokyo? Oh, interesting. My point is it should. If you're going to open a Nintendo Tokyo, the first official Nintendo store, open it in a country where your products sell the most.
So I'm pretty sure that most Marvel movies tend to do better internationally than they do nationally. That would be like them opening Marvel Studios Land.
That's not fair
but
to say.
opening it up
There's
in
more-
China
there's
rather
more
than
people.
in the United
I was going to say
States.
that's not fair to say because there's way more people not in North America watching these movies.
But I'm pretty sure there's just pure number of consumers more in the United States than there are in Japan.
But Nintendo Switches aren't just released in North America and Japan. They're also released in actually I don't know. I would assume Europe, probably the southern
Asia,
parts of
Russia.
Yeah, probably the southern parts of South America, northern parts of Africa, Asia for sure. It's released all. They're just. I get your logic.
Yeah,
But most of Nintendo products are sold in America. So if you're going to open the very first Nintendo store,
I don't
open
know.
it in America.
If Twin Stick Radio became super, super big and we had a large audience in the United States and Japan and we were opening up the Twin Stick Radio store, I would not do it in Japan first.
Right,
even if it was
exactly.
bigger.
And
I
it's
wouldn't do it first, even if we had a million more consumers than we
Sure.
had in the United States.
Sure, which is it's another argument. It's I get your argument of course Avengers sells more in other parts of the world, but there's more parts of the world that watch movies. But it goes back to Ubisoft has a amusement park in North Africa. Or maybe it's South. I don't know
Who
where the
does?
hell.
Wait, what?
Ubisoft. Ubisoft has a fucking amusement park where you can go and you can have VR Division shit and there's rabbits. It's literally Universal Studios for Ubisoft games. There's this big Assassin's Creed world. Literally, in some other country. It's like, why the fuck would you open it there and not in America, where your games sell the most?
At least with
sounds
Nintendo, they're opening it up in their country of origin
Sure,
and not
sure,
just some
fair
random
enough.
fucking place
Sure, fair
where
enough.
people speak French at. Last up, Dr. Mario World is headed to mobile devices this summer in Japan and the United States. Dr. Mario World will be free to download with optional in-app purchases, and in addition to Japan and the United States, will release in approximately 60 countries/regions in early summer on iOS and Android.
Is Dr. Mario World just Dr. Mario?
I'm pretty sure. I'm actually excited. If it is just Dr. Mario, I'm excited for it.
That's good. Dr. Mario's a great game.
It's actually just Mario Run, except he has a
it's-
doctor outfit.
It's the best evolution of Tetris that's ever been.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the best mindless puzzle games.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Kingdom Hearts has like Bejeweled mini games in the Winnie the Pooh book, and they're dumb.
Bejeweled.
Are there
mini
in-app
games in the
purchases? Then that's not Bejeweled. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
you're right.
You're
Good
not.
call.
You're not talking about the gummy phone games, right?
No, I'm talking about in the Winnie the how.
Wait, hold
there's
on.
all-
There's Gummy Phone games, but they put the Bejeweled game in Winnie the Pooh World.
Well, the gummy phone games are the old LCD games. Do you know what I'm talking about?
no.
It's hard to explain.
Like, are you
It
talking
is-
about the one, like the Game & Watch games?
Yes.
Yes.
Those
Okay.
are yes. Those are called LCD games.
But I feel like it might.
Those They're basically the gummy phone games or old.
But the
Game &
Gummy
Watch
Phone is a
games.
smartphone.
It, sort of, except it looks like a Jolly Rancher with a crown.
Sure,
on it.
but it's a smartphone.
Sure. To
So
an extent.
what?
It
So
plays
why?
old school games until you have to make a phone call to Chippendale, and then it's like
the
4K quality.
Yeah, it's 4K quality video. Yeah.
So why doesn't it just do both? Why would that? Why does it? Why?
well, because
Because our smartphones play LCD games and
Hang
fucking
on.
Bejeweled.
it all makes sense in Kingdom Hearts logic. Okay.
I'm learning that I
in
just don't have Kingdom Hearts
world.
logic.
There's the book of Winnie the Pooh. Transport into the book, right? And so that's where Winnie.
Don't think about it too much because
right,
there's really
right,
no
it doesn't-
explanation.
Right, there's
for
no
that.
explanation.
I love this.
But that's where Pooh, and that's where you do the Pooh story arc and all this other stuff. Old Winnie the Pooh stuff was a lot of weird, quirky mini games that were kind of fun to play. They had a lot to do with like the Winnie the Pooh story, where you're helping Pooh like avoid
Fight the
bees.
heffalumps.
No, like helping Pooh like avoid bees while he's holding on to the balloon, and whether it's raining. It all makes sense.
So
But in this one, it's a bunch of Bejeweled mini games.
they're just like mobile games.
No, yes, it's Bejeweled. They're not mobile games. It's Bejeweled.
No, it's just straight only Bejeweled.
Yeah, because it's not Bejeweled. You're not but you match 3. So like I've played 3 of these games so far, and it's helping Rabbit pick vegetables, fruits, and flowers. And Sora's down at the launch point, and you basically have the Bejeweled screen kind of like moving down.
Is it the one where you
consistently.
launch the bubbles and it like breaks them?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, is
not
that not
Bejeweled.
Bejeweled?
No.
Bejeweled
that?
is like switching.
Don't
things.
explain to me what it is. What game am I talking about?
I don't
then?
know what I don't know what the game you're
Okay,
Blaster,
like bubble
Marble Blaster,
what's that game on NES? It's
Bubble Burst.
it's gosh.
Anyway, you've got like 5 or 6 different like vegetables, and they're all randomly placed on this board, and they're consistently dropping down, and you are shooting colored vegetables, and you're trying to match 4 in a row. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. I call it Bejeweled because it's 4 in a fucking row. That's basically Bejeweled.
Well, it's like the marble
Bubble
shooting
Bobble.
games.
Okay, whatever. Anyway,
great NES
those are the
SNES.
games, and it sucks. Just sucks. That's all.
It just sucks.
I like this thing that happens.
Also, don't mansplain Bejeweled to me, okay?
I like this thing that happens when you talk about Magic Worlds where people are like, well, that couldn't happen because of blah blah blah
Of
blah.
course it couldn't
It's
happen.
like-
Just fucking forget it.
no, I'm not, just like this thing happens in Game of Thrones all the time where like again
Sure.
he'll present this crazy theory that has to do with like the weird magic in the world and all these different things, and someone below is like, that's impossible, that could never happen. I'm like, there are dragons and undead people. What do you mean that this is the most ridiculous thing you've heard of in
It's
this
true.
world?
But
That's
it's
like
funny because like some things get explained like back like OG Kingdom Hearts, like if you're in Alice in Wonderland world, if you wanted to shrink you had to eat this little thing, or if you wanted to grow you had to drink this little bottle. But then like with Winnie the Pooh it's just like you just go into the book.
Yeah, you
you're
shrink
ju-
down and transport into the book.
for no reason.
I'm pretty sure that was
and
a
Sora
thing.
never questions it.
Yeah, no.
I'm pretty sure that was a thing, and well, we had a moment like that, but I'm pretty sure that was a thing in Old Winnie the Pooh where they would tell stories and like you get transported into the book. But we had a moment the other day where Chris met Ratatouille, and Chris has never seen Ratatouille, so Ratatouille's like calling.
I've never seen any of the movies in this game except for Pirates.
Oh, that hurts me.
Ratatouille's like climbing on Sora, and he gets on his head and grabs his hair, and he's like controlling Sora. And Chris is like, "What the fuck?" And I was like, "You have never seen Ratatouille, have you?" And I was like, he goes, "No." I was like, "That's literally the thing in Ratatouille. He's controlling the human to make food by pulling his hair."
This Kingdom
Made
Hearts.
no sense to me whatsoever.
This Kingdom Hearts, they're definitely. I don't know if they've talked with Disney more or what, but Disney's letting them use things from the movies more prevalently.
I think you've misspoken, and you said you're playing through the movie.
Well, because like
Pay attention.
Also,
Like
Well,
literally
like-
pay attention. And Monster, where are you at right now?
right now I'm in Toyland, so
Okay, so that doesn't really that takes place in a completely separate thing. However,
could be Toy Story 4.
sure, but my point being is that Frozen, Monsters Inc.,
Rapunzel.
Pirates of the
Rapunzel, Pirates of the Caribbean. What else have I played through? I think those four are literally the movies. Like, I'm not kidding. I was watching Whitney because Whitney got through Frozen before I did, and she's like, "It's the movie. It is literally the movie. It's the movie was happening, and Sora, Donald, and Goofy are off camera. Like, I fully believe that in these movies, if I go watch them and I look close enough, I will see Sora, Donald, and Goofy somewhere hidden in these movies because you are literally playing through Frozen, through Rapunzel, through the second Monsters Inc., and through the second movie Pirates of the Caribbean. So much so that this game is literally putting Sora in instances so the rest of the movie can happen. Like, I'm not kidding. In the Pirates world, you are literally running around with Jack Sparrow, okay? And in the context of Pirates 2, where you are at the time, Jack Sparrow is not in the actual movie.
There's basically a MacGuffin to explain why Sora
there's
hasn't been with Jack Sparrow the whole movie.
Jack kind of like disappears, and then it cuts to the scene where Jack, Elizabeth, and Barbossa are confronting the East Trade guy Will and Davy Jones. And it's that scene. It's like, oh well, that's why Jack couldn't be with us because he's literally in that scene. And so they're literally. You're playing through the movies to a T, playing through the movies.
And what's interesting,
which is
too-
super weird because they never did that in Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2.
Let me
but-
close out the show real fast. Hold on to that thought, and you guys can keep going.
No, say
you're
it. Just
good.
say it real
Just
quick.
say it.
Just say it, and I won't.
If you like
I
what we
won't-
do,
I
please
won't
rate,
talk.
review, and subscribe
I
to us
won't
on
talk. You
iTunes,
just say the thing.
Stitcher, Google Play Store, wherever else you listen to podcasts. You can follow the show on Twitter at Twinstick Radio or on Facebook at facebook.com/Twinstick
Everett
Radio.
has something to say.
Breaking news, actually. Microsoft Studios is no longer a thing. They changed their name to Xbox Game Studios. Rebranding.
Fuck.
I can say this on mic, or I can keep talking.
No,
No.
say it right.
Yeah, no, do it on mic.
Okay.
Pick the most
So,
prevalent- Whoa.
so this is Microsoft's press release. At Xbox, we believe when everyone plays, we all win. It's why we're passionate about building a portfolio of games for players across console, PC, and mobile. As we've expanded our focus beyond the console, the Xbox brand has also evolved from its original roots. Today, Xbox is our gaming brand across all devices, no matter how or where you want to play, or who you want to play with. In that spirit, I'm pleased to share that we are changing the name of our game development organization from Microsoft Studios to Xbox Game Studios.
Called it.
Wow.
Very good, Everett.
Anyways, I am at Darth Trey. Chris is at Short Change Hero with the 3 and 7.
Are we just going to glance over? That's a big deal. I mean, we don't have
I'm
to,
in the middle of something. Hold on. And Justin is at Justin T. Lopez. The show is edited and produced by Everett Jordan. Follow him on whatever at the 56th. And the theme song is by Connor Manning. Follow him on Twitter at Connor13. One in Connor, 13 spelled out. And hire him to do your shit.
Good job, by the way, Everett. Good call.
That's crazy.
Is it, though?
Not really. Nothing really changed.
How not?
They just changed their name. They're still doing the same thing.
But I mean, I think it further backs up what we were just saying, as far as them like focusing more on just like
Sure.
the software side of things.
Sure, but
Their Xbox game, what was it Xbox Games? What?
Xbox
people
Game
be
Studios.
happy, Trey.
No, I'm not saying not to be happy.
Oh, I'm not saying I'm happy. I'm just saying that
I'm just putting it into
I think that just backs up the fact that there's not going to be another like true console.
I there will be. I just think after that, the future's a little murky. And I think that what we're seeing right now and what we've been seeing, again, going back to what I was saying earlier, what we've been seeing since, basically the Xbox One launch is Microsoft taking little steps out of hardware and more into service. And I think this is just another example of them moving into service. So for me to say, like, it's cool they changed the name of it. It's cool that they did that. But to put it into perspective for people who think that, like, who either are like, wow, this is crazy, this is new and different. It's like, no, I think this will be new and different and crazy years from now. I think once we see all these steps together, from Play Anywhere to Games Pass to Xbox Live being onto everything to Microsoft Game Studios changing their name, I think when we start connecting all those pieces, we'll be like, oh, hey, this is crazy. But it's just like one little step at a time, bringing us to that future of Xbox as a service.
Plus 5G rolls out this year for a lot of different phone services.
Yeah.
Is it really? Yeah. So, do you guys explain like I'm 5 on Reddit? Did you see like one of the greatest questions in the world was asked, and I didn't get a chance to read into it, but maybe one of you know.
Okay.
The question was, explain to me like I'm 5, why if I get switched to 3G, it's like impossible to load anything, but 4 or 5 years ago when 3G was a thing, everything loaded just fine.
Oh, I remember this.
I never.
Did you read an answer?
No, I did not get. I was scrolling through and I was like falling asleep. One of those things, and I ended up falling asleep and I couldn't find it again. But it's such a good fucking question.
It was,
like when you get.
It was one of those things. I remember reading an answer that explained it pretty well. It was basically like 3G is. It's not what it used to be. It's like there's
So
like,
it's not 3G. Then don't call it 3G.
it is 3G, but there's like a limited amount or something. So it's like you only get so much.
It's like a bandwidth thing.
kind of.
They might have dropped support as far as like infrastructure goes.
It's like
that would have been my guess, is that it's an infrastructure thing. It's just not as supported as 4G is.
you're basically you're just given really low priority on whatever it is you're trying to access or do. But that's why you can usually make like a phone call.
Yeah, phone calls and texts sometimes work. Sometimes text takes forever. to get
Eli
through to get switched in.
5. Why does 3G suck
explain
now?
like I'm 5?
Eli 5. Years ago, when 3G was the best data connection available, I would stream music and check the internet simultaneously without issue. Now, with a 4G data plan, when my phone drops to 3G in bad service areas, I can't do shit. Music stops, web pages won't load. Why does 3G connection mean data death these days? And first comment is, web pages over the years have been increasing in size, making the slower connection seem more slow than it used to be.
Not the answer. He's talking about music.
I
I understand the web pages. I totally understand web pages having more shit on them. So 4G can support normal web pages now, but what about that? Like YouTube. 2 or 3 years ago, watching a YouTube video on 3G network was no problem whatsoever. Now, if you drop to 3G, a YouTube video, even dropping it down to like 144p, will not load for shit.
This guy says 3 reasons. 1, pages get bigger. 2, you're used to 4G, so going back to 3G feels painfully slow. 3, the one that is helpful, they don't maintain old networks. Now that 4G is around, they're letting 3G waste away because who cares? So yes, 3G has lower bit rates than it used to.
What do you mean by maintaining the network? Like, what? I don't. No clue. I connect to the internet. I understand how to do some stuff in my router. I understand how that kind of shit works. What do you mean by maintaining the internet? Is there a bunch of dudes walking around like the 4G thing, and they're like, "Oh, looks good. What can we do to fix this?"
I would imagine it's more of like an infrastructure kind of thing. Like maybe not necessarily satellites, but you have like your cell towers that are sending out signals. You have some that can have the capability of doing 3G, but as those things break down and as it becomes less of a priority, you just don't really fix those.
Sure,
much.
but
It's also a matter of updating
like software or something.
software code, cleaning
I
up
guess,
code to
but
make it run more efficiently.
nobody's updating radio waves.
Yeah, but radio
waves are built for efficiency.
but
That's
also
kind of the-
radio waves.
Isn't it kind of the same thing?
It's not code. It's a radio when you're sending out something over a radio wave. The radio wave is just a thing. It's like wind. Or water. It's just it's a thing that it can't change, that you can't update. Whereas like a cellular code is literally running off of software. And
But you
code.
could update radio waves because over the years it's gradually gotten clearer and clearer and clearer until you have radio what you have now, like
But
it's in HD.
The wave isn't updating. The antenna that's projecting the wave is updating.
Okay, so then what the 3G thing needs to be updated?
I guess in that case that would be the antenna, the code that's projecting the wave.
It's like the difference between building a highway somewhere else and then making the highway wider. You can only make a highway so much wider before you have to make another highway.
Sure, but I don't know if that's a good analogy either, because like you've got a highway, and you've got a bunch of people on 3G 5 years ago on this highway, and they made it 6 lanes and now 7 lanes, and there's plenty of room and stuff like that. Now nobody's on 3G. Highway's still there.
The highway's broken down.
Yeah,
They've
it's sort of like they
they-
built a 4G highway above.
There's a shit ton of potholes.
They
on
stopped
3G
fixing the
highway.
potholes. They haven't painted the lines. They maybe have a couple exits that they could have added to make things run more efficiently, but they didn't do that. So
So
you
if you-
basically have an old broken down road that you're trying to travel down, and you're hitting the potholes and you're missing your exits because the exit should have been 10 miles ago.
Interesting.
You know,
There you go.
That's a great analogy.
That's,
Now I understand.
That's explained like you're 5.
Now I understand it.
yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks, Internet.
Bye.